Gosh, we have a crap ton of news to talk about. We have Jimmy Garoppolo extending his contract for the year. We have Laviska Shenault getting traded over to Carolina. We have Alexander Madison possibly out of Minnesota. So we have a decent amount to talk about. Of course, we're going to be hopping into some real money fantasy football drafts tonight. And I got horrible news. We're at pick 12. Now, hopefully we can go through. Hopefully we can find a way to salvage this draft. Usually picking at 12 on Underdog is a complete disaster. Usually our drafts are a disaster period. So, oh my gosh, this may be a perfect concoction of something very bad brewing. But at the end of the day, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Maybe we can have a good draft here. If you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. If we hit 90,000 subscribers before the season starts, we are going to get a 24-hour live stream drafting nonstop leading until kickoff. That'd be a little bit wild. I don't know how we will do it, but it looks like we actually may have to based on how this has been trending. But Jonathan Taylor off the board here at 1. Christian McCaffrey goes at 2. And dear God, we got a crap ton of people out here. A crap ton of people. Adam says, is Jimmy Garoppolo a concern? I think we could talk more about Jimmy G and Trey Lance once we see Lance selected. I mean, obviously, Trey Lance is still probably going to be the starter here. I think we do want to wait a little bit, but very surprising. You have Austin Eckler off the board here at 3. Oh my gosh. If you're playing in a casual, shallow redraft format, I agree. Yeah, probably go ahead, take Eckler at 3, just knowing the wide receiver value that you would have later on. But here on Underdog, where you have to start 3 wide receivers every single week, obviously it's best ball as well. Dear God, dear God, that's a tough selection. I'm going Jefferson. I'm going Cup. No brainer. Stephon Diggs. Even we were taking over Eckler earlier this offseason. Jake says, I thought you were doing the 24-hour live stream if you hit 80,000 subs. Oh, my friend. I don't know if you're trolling us here or if you're being serious. I'm assuming you're trolling us. I'll go with Scotty on the clock. Let's see what he decides to do. He goes Najee Harris. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take the combo of Travis Kelce and CeeDee Lamb. I think a couple of these running backs here are very appealing. And if we were playing in a casual, shallow redraft format, 100% I don't take Lamb here. 100% I go Joe Mixon, one of my favorite tier 2 running backs in particular. But because this is Underdog, because we expect these wide receivers to slide up, like you have Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs going before guys like Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook. I think we go ahead, we take CeeDee Lamb, we lock one of these guys in. That way we can focus in on running back value where we like it a little later. Okay. Jason asking if this is a Pomeranian. Yeah, so on Underdog right now, they have that $3 Pomeranian tournament style contest. $3 buy-in, $100,000 prize pool, and 0% rake. 0% rake. So I'm going to fire up as many as we possibly can because it's a no-brainer. Okay. DeAndre Swift going off the board here, 16. Saquon Barkley at 17. So we have a lot of these teams here on the turn deciding to go double or running back off the bat. And I will say, once you have CeeDee Lamb off the board, Devontae Adams off the board, there's a pretty serious drop-off, in my opinion, over to Debo Samuel. With Debo Samuel, I think that you should have a couple different concerns with the overall role that we should expect. If Trey Lance decides to have a more downfield approach than what we saw with Jimmy Garoppolo, which I think we can assume that's going to be the case. And with Debo Samuel, literally the league's lowest average depth of target by a mile at the wide receiver position over the past 3 seasons. And we've already talked about it, 8 rushing touchdowns going away. I don't even want to bring up the injury history that you have with Debo Samuel because, of course, injuries are mainly random in fantasy football, but still, that should be something just in the back of our mind. So I do think there's a serious teardrop once you have CeeDee Lamb off the board. But Mark Andrews goes at 18. Here, we kind of want these tight ends off. I think really the only tight end that we could have a shot at getting after we take Kelce, if we're going to look to double up on 2 elite level guys, which maybe you would try to do that in a tournament build, there's an outside chance that we would end up coming away with Darren Waller now at the 5-6 turn. Obviously, with Darren Waller, he's missed a decent amount of training camp. Not looking that pretty. But, okay, yeah, I forgot to say this at the beginning. And I'm assuming that you've already heard me say this a million times by now. If not, you've probably been living in a cave for the past year. But we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. This is where we draft every single night on these live streams. Every single night. We haven't taken one off in months. And we are going to get our 24-hour live stream draft, if it happens, drafting on Underdog. So if you ever want to join one of these live streams with us, join these drafts, make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. They're best ball drafts, so that means there's no time commitment at all during the season. Your starting lineups automatically submitted for you at the very end of the week. No waiver wire, no trades. You go 18 rounds deep. So it's the perfect spot to just get in some extra drafts, and you can still focus in on the league that you really care about during the year. I mean, because there's no time commitment, I'm able to get over 700 of these going this offseason. And if you sign up for Underdog and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You're going to get our 2022 fantasy football rankings and our 2022 fantasy football draft guide as well. Okay, so we have Nick Chubb making it all the way down to pick 29 here. I mean, with Nick Chubb, I think you have to go ahead. You have to take this prize. I understand that. Yes, at the end of the day, with Chubb, he is in a committee in Cleveland. So this should be a very bad offense through the first 11 weeks. Trust me, we hated Nick Chubb in the past when you had to take him over wide receivers that had top 5 upside. But in this range, I don't necessarily think the opportunity cost is similar to what you saw in years prior at receiver in particular. But Bobcat coming out says, I got offered Aaron Rodgers, Brandon Cooks, and Irv Smith Jr. in exchange for my 2023 first and third round rookie pick. 12-team Superflex Dynasty. Should I go ahead and pull the trigger? I mean, I think you're fine doing it if you're a contending roster where you actually expect that Rodgers should make a difference. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Scotty D's on the clock. Based on the value that we've been seeing fall later and later at running back, with like David Montgomery now being a player going in the 7th round, I'm not as excited to take running backs here. I think we go James Conner, and then with James Robinson looking healthy, we are going to pass on ETN here. We're going to scroll down a little bit, and we're just going to decide to go Terry McLaurin. Someone that in years past, I wasn't a massive fan of drafting. I mean, last year when he was going in the 3rd, I wasn't taking Terry McLaurin because I was too smart to take Terry McLaurin in the 3rd round last year. Way too smart to do that. Instead, we were getting Allen Robinson in the 3rd round in almost every single draft. You're welcome. Here, I think at this price point, it is going to be fine. Let's grab our first running back with Connor, and then let's take Terry McLaurin at 37 as well. But now we have a Gabriel Davis directly after, to the team that decided to snipe us on Jalen Waddle. Why do you got to do us like that? Why are you taking our guy, Jalen Waddle, away from us? Johnny coming out says, my man, Flock live streams and the season starts in 10 days. Life is good. Hope everyone's doing well. Brother, how is Damian Pierce not gone yet? Hey. We're looking for Damian Pierce at pick 60, my friend. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Now I may have to draft J.K. Dobbins instead of Damian Pierce. You're really doing that to me? Okay, no, thank you for coming out. And yes, it should be a great live stream tonight. I appreciate all of y'all so damn much. Like literally last night, the live stream broke records. We had like 1,000 likes in the live stream, like 30 minutes in. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was obnoxious. Maybe it was like an hour in, but hit 1,000 likes so quickly. And we are just skyrocketing towards 90,000 subscribers, where it looks like I may actually have to do that 24-hour live stream when I thought there was a 0% chance that happened. Okay. So we have Amon-Ra St. Brown off the board here, pick 45. Someone that's definitely been moving up draft boards as of late. With Amon-Ra St. Brown, specifically in Best Ball Mania as well, or just in underdog drafts in particular, I'm not a massive St. Brown fan to take him here in the 4th round. A couple different reasons. Because A, this is going to be a half PPR league. Half PPR, I think that we should devalue those slot wide receivers ever so slightly compared to what you would do in a full PPR format. B, because here in these tournament drafts on underdog, we need to be optimizing for weeks 15, 16, and 17. And during that 3-week stretch, you probably have Jamison Williams good to go and playing for the Detroit Lions. There's the outside chance that Jamison Williams ends up being the wide receiver 1. Not saying it's guaranteed, but it's a real possibility that I think we should at least bring up and at least consider. Not only are we going to have Jamison Williams, but you also have TJ Hawkinson. You have DeAndre, so you have so many different options there. Dylan coming out. Thank you, my man. Says, hey, Mason, not sure if you remember my post on locals, but you said to combine Stevenson and Pierce for a better running back in a 12-team league. Any ideas who? Okay, I do remember this. This was a redraft format, I believe, not a dynasty league. And if we're going to be looking at like Stevenson and Dameon Pierce, I think that any running back that's gone off the board already, I would trade the 2 combo of those running backs for individually. I mean, because if we are looking at like a Dameon Pierce and a Ramondre Stevenson, I think that while yes, they could very easily be high-end running back 2s in fantasy, I do think that their ceiling is eventually going to be capped based on the fact that here with Dameon Pierce, the overall offensive concerns, and as well as if we're going to be looking at Ramondre Stevenson, it's very hard to imagine how he gets away completely from the committee. So maybe if we could go ahead and get like a Travis Etienne, I think that would make a lot of sense. But Kyler Murray going off the board here, pick 58. This is why we decided to go ahead and decided to pass up on running backs earlier on so we could try to get some of these running back values here. Yeah. Okay. I think we're double tapping the running back position here, or possibly grabbing the elite level tight end and having a unique combo with Kelsey. What do we want to do? Okay. Let's go Akers and let's go Darren Waller. Okay, so here I'm very hesitant to take Darren Waller pick 61 because A, obviously Waller trending in the wrong direction as of late. Not a practice. We don't know when he is going to get back. B, because a lot of people watching this aren't drafting on Underdog Fantasy. They're not thinking about how the overall tournament style contest does have a different dynamic than your regular 12-team redraft league. In your regular 12-team redraft league, you don't think about taking Darren Waller here for a single second. You pass on it. You never consider Darren Waller pick 61. However, in a 12-team tournament style underdog draft, I think that the Darren Waller selection is intriguing in that it could present a very unique opportunity to sneak a Travis Kelce team through to the tournament. Because if you just think about it from a game theory perspective, 99% of teams, because it's what any smart person would ever tell you to do, it's what any smart person would do in general. When they take Travis Kelce, they're only going to take one more tight end, and they're going to wait until the very, very end of the draft. So what would happen if Kelce were to go down for 8 weeks during the season? All of a sudden, none of those Kelce teams are making the tournament, or very, very few of those Kelce teams are making the tournament if he misses, say, weeks 2 through 11. But we know that he could break fantasy football for that final 3-week stretch during that underdog tournament style. So if you can sneak a Kelce team through by possibly going a little bit overboard on tight end here with Darren Waller, then I think it could be interesting in a tournament style draft. And your regular casual redraft format is something you never consider. But Jesse coming out, thank you, my friend, says, redraft trade, PPR, double flex spots, 5-point passing touchdowns. We're going to give up J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Hurts, and Sky Moore. We are going to get Rashad Penny, Dak Prescott, Hollywood Brown. No. Do not do this in this. I'm not interested in this at all. At wide receiver, you already have Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Drake London, Kadarius Toney, Christian Watson. Yeah, no, please keep J.K. Dobbins. I prefer him significantly over Rashad Penny. Please keep Jalen Hurts. I prefer him over Dak. I don't think the wide receiver upgrade we're getting there is enough. But Carly coming out says, what do you do Thomas and Bateman for Mike Evans? Okay, I would go ahead. I would trade Michael Thomas and Rashad Bateman for Mike Evans in a shallow redraft format because while I do think Rashad Bateman is a strong talent, I think the overall passing volume is going to be severely capped in Baltimore, and I do think that you should expect maybe 25% of that team's target share to go over in the direction of Mark Andrews. So I do think that you have a capped ceiling on Rashad Bateman, and in a shallow redraft format, it's going to make so much sense to just go get Mike Evans. Basie says, hey, I got on Underdog Fantasy, deposited $20, use your promo code, but I never received your draft guide. Okay, so real quick, I've talked about this a lot, but just in case you don't know, when you go and make that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy, you are going to see that they match that first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100 immediately with promo code FLOCK. So if you made that $10 deposit, you'll see that you have $20 in your account that second. But it's going to take a little bit more time to get our draft guide. It's going to take a little bit more time to get our rankings. It should take, I want to say, about 1 to 3 hours. And it's going to go to the email address you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with. Please check that email. And wait 1 second. Let's go Jacobs. Let's go Jacobs and CEH. No smart person on the planet would ever tell you to do this. No smart person on the planet would ever tell you to do this. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to be dumb. We are going to take, in my opinion, the strongest two values on the board. And I think that this is going to be a build where we can go very slim at running back and just hammer in a ton of wide receivers later on. But going back to what we were discussing, check your email a couple hours after you sign up for Underdog with promo code FLOCK. And then it should be sitting there in your email address. And if you don't see it, just make sure you check your spam. Okay. Now we have Kadarius Toney off the board, 89. At this point, we are praying that running backs go. We really need running backs, really need tight ends off this draft board. Don't really understand why that team right before us decided to go Dalton Schultz when we already had Kelsey and Waller. Obviously, we were capped at the tight end position. We couldn't take another guy. Jay Gee says, does Isaiah Likely hurt Mark Andrews' production? I don't necessarily think he is going to. What I could see with Isaiah Likely is maybe if the Baltimore Ravens decide to run more two tight end sets, maybe that eats into the overall upside that you could have from some of those secondary wide receivers in Baltimore. Someone like a Devin Duvernay, for example, where we would be very excited about Devin Duvernay in a best ball format where he could slate in to be the wide receiver 2 for the Baltimore Ravens if it's going to be a very condensed target tree only between Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman. But if Isaiah Likely is all of a sudden going to be viable in two tight end sets, I do think that those secondary passing options in Baltimore do get hurt. Okay. Now we have Robert Woods, Sky Moore, MVS going off. Oh, for the love of God, please. What running backs do we need to see go? We want to see Sanders, Kareem Hunt, Damien Harris, Hawkinson, Dawson Knox. Get all these guys off the board. Please, for the love of God. Get all these players off the board. It would be very nice to get Dak on the way back around. Obviously, there's a 0% chance we were going to get Dak on the way back around. But if we were able to stack him up with a CeeDee Lamb, that would be great. Noah coming out says, hey, Mason, how do I join your drafts? Thank you, my friend, of course, for coming out to the stream. Okay, so obviously, I'm assuming you already have your Underdog account. So when we fire up private drafts, which I'll send those private drafts out in the live chat, we'll say like $3 draft here, and there'll be a little link. You click that, you're automatically in our draft. Be super simple. That's what we usually do. But because there's that Pomeranian contest right now where it's a $3 buy-in, $100,000 prize pool, and a 0% rake, we are entering in these public tournaments on Underdog where you would just have to go through enter at the same time with us. But there is a chance that you don't get to enter in the exact same draft room that we do. So if you only deposited $10 in your Underdog account, you only have $20 and you don't want to be afraid of going out there and maybe burning $3 in a draft that you weren't wanting to be a part of, I would honestly just maybe wait until we do some more private drafts. Okay. So we have TJ Hawkinson off the board here. Treylon Burks goes as well. Oh, for the love of God. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God, ladies and gentlemen. We could go ahead. We could bring in Derek Carr here at the turn if we don't have any wide receivers making it back to us. We do have the combo of Josh Jacobs as well as Darren Waller with this build, so maybe we could save ourselves in that fashion. In reality, it's just going to be a very bad spot if we don't have wide receivers making it back. Very, very bad spot. But Sanders off the board, pick 100. Good. Okay. Starting to sweat over here. Kareem Hunt gone. Perfect. Even if we like the value of these guys, there's no way in hell we can take them. There's no way we could take one of these guys. And we just passed 200 likes in the stream. Of course, thank y'all so much for going down there and dropping a like. I have a feeling that maybe this stream doesn't break records like our one did last night, but I have a feeling it's going to be a very good stream again. Okay. So we have James Cook. Okay, I think this draft board is playing into what we have done so far. James Cook, Damien Harris off the board. George Pickens goes. Claypool off. Where did the Allen team go? The Josh Allen team took James Cook. Honestly, I definitely prefer taking James Cook in this range, even if you're the Allen build over Dawson Knox. Can't complain about them doing that at all, especially if they have Mark Andrews. Garrett Wilson off the board. Let's see what we end up getting left with. We have to go ahead. We have to take Tyler Boyd. Not even going to be a thought. I mean, Tyler Boyd is literally must draft guy at this point. And then beyond that, I honestly think we probably go QB. Let's go Boyd and then maybe Carr. Technically, we would have a double stack there with the combination of Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs. If we were to take Stafford. We don't have the option to take Higbee later on. We could go Van Jefferson, but still we're not going to be that excited about it. Let's go ahead. Let's take Derek Carr. I don't necessarily think that he is a great value at this point, but I do think that he fits this build. So right now we have a very unique team, a very bad team. We have Kelsey, Waller at tight end. At running back, we have Connor, Cam Akers, Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then we have at receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, and Tyler Boyd. Okay, let's move this down. Rick says, half PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a flex, 3rd pick. Running backs go early in this league. Would that sway you or stick to the plan? Would you go... Who would you take at 3 if Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor go? Okay, so 9 times out of 10, I would never advocate to go ahead and just decide to draft Austin Eckler at 3. Austin Eckler is a player that I think I only have in 4%. I think my exposure for Eckler is 4% on Underdog. But that's because Underdog, you have to start 3 wide receivers. Obviously, you have to skew with those guys a little bit earlier on if we want to be able to take the value of Josh Jacobs to pick 84 or Cam Akers to pick 60 as we do in this draft. But specifically in this shallow redraft format where you only start 2 running backs, 2 receivers in a flex, where you can only start 3 receivers and your entire league's going to be skewing running back heavy, I think you probably have to go JT, CMC, Eckler with your first 3 picks. Which every one of those players falls to you, you probably have to take them. And I'm still not even going to be that excited about drafting wide receiver at the 2-3 turn in this format in particular. I think you would go ahead and instead try to get an elite level tight end like a Mark Andrews. But Adam coming out says, hey, Mason, who should I pick in a 10-team PPR from the 8th spot in the 1st and 2nd round? Okay, so in a 10-team league, I think that it is going to be more important for you to get that elite level tight end to stand out from the crowd, especially if it's a shallow starting lineup, as we were just discussing with this other league right before this, where I would really want to go ahead. I would really want to take Kelsey and then your favorite running back that falls to the 2nd round, assuming it's that shallow starting lineup. Austin says, evening flock, I want to see how my draft went. Sorry, Austin. Let me see if we have another message in here for you. Of course, thank you for coming out to the live stream. And you said you took Lamar, Taylor, Chubb, Allen Robinson, Bateman, Gesicki, Barkley. Oh my gosh. So you have Taylor, Chubb, Barkley on the same roster in a 12-team league. You got the elite level quarterback in Lamar Jackson. You have him stacked up with Rashad Bateman. On the bench, we have Hunter Renfrow, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Olave, Daryl Henderson as some upside plays. I really like the team. I mean, there's not too much for me to discuss. I don't think we have enough firepower to go out there and trade for an elite level tight end like Mark Andrews. So honestly, I think we kind of sit on our hands here. Sergio says, does stacking quarterback and running back lower your ceiling? Not necessarily, because when you stack multiple players in the same offense, you're essentially making that one concentrated bet saying that this offense is going to be better than the market indicates. Hell, that should help both the running back and the quarterback in that scenario, specifically if that running back can catch passes. Maybe if it's a Derrick Henry, maybe if it's going to be a running back that is drawing less than 2 targets per game, they don't really correlate the way that you would want. But especially if it's like, I mean, earlier today, I did end up taking Eckler in a draft of like 7, and then we got Justin Herbert in the 4th round later on. Okay, so Cole Kmet off. Let's swing this back around. You have Aaron Rodgers still falling here. Very interesting to see Rodgers fall this far. Okay, this team run has Allen QB. They go Isaiah McKenzie. Okay, that does make a lot of sense for them to just go ahead, take Isaiah McKenzie here, get that triple stack with that Buffalo Bills offense where they have Diggs, McKenzie, and James Cook. Like I would say, like Josh Allen, James Cook are 2 players that are the perfect example of guys that correlate in their respective offenses, because we are expecting that James Cook almost exclusively is utilized as that receiving down RB. Okay. So let's see, Frymuth off the board, 129. Great for us. We can't take another tight end. We want to see these tight ends off. Scotty D's on the clock. This team went through. They took Russell Wilson, pick 59 earlier in this draft. It's probably pretty hard to get a read on exactly what they want to do here. They go Rodgers. We're going to go ahead. We have to take 2 receivers. We have no option but to go wide receiver. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take Devontae Parker and Mecole Hardman. Obviously, you have Kirk Cousins falling significantly past ADP, but at the same time, we have no Minnesota Vikings. I don't think we have the option to really get any of these guys later on. Irv Smith Jr. already off the board. So let's go ahead. Let's take both these receivers. We're playing catch up at wide receiver at this point. I do think we have that unique build in a tournament style draft. It's a lot more appealing than it would be in a private, where we have Kelsey, Waller at tight end, Running back, we have James Conner, Cam Akers, Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Boyd, Devontae Parker, Mecole Hardman. And then we have Derek Carr in there at quarterback right now for the double stack between Waller and Jacobs. Okay, but Alexander Madison off the board here. Obviously with the trade rumors, sounding like he just wants an extension, but let me know what y'all are thinking. Do you think that Alexander Madison gets traded? Or do you think he is just going to be sitting here? Jaggy says, will the $2,500 on underdog run without filling? I would say yes. I mean, here, from my understanding is with all those underdog tournament contests, and I want to say this with 100% certainty. I just don't want to get sued if I'm wrong. But if they don't fill, it's just like a poker tournament. Where, hell, if it was a $100,000 guaranteed prize pool and there were only $60,000 worth of entries, then I think underdog has to have that overlay of 40,000. I think underdog has to go out there and put that out. Okay. So now we have Tua Tagovailoa, Kirk Cousins off the board. This is maybe the first draft I've ever seen with Tua going before Cousins. Very, very interesting here with this build. Okay. So Brandon says he hopes Madison stays. Suzuki says yes. And then Luke says, what teams will be best if he gets traded? Like, let's go through and let's run through the possible places that he could go. I think New Orleans could make sense in that, yes, obviously with New Orleans, it looks less likely that you do have Alvin Kamara suspended. But it's still potentially in the range of outcomes. Not only is it potentially in the range of outcomes, but at the same time, we've seen the New Orleans Saints want to use Alvin Kamara as a pseudo committee back there in New Orleans, where I think it would be a natural compliment for Alexander Madison to just take the nasty touches on first and second down inside the 20-yard lines. But outside of that, San Francisco, possibly. Green Bay, no. Vegas, probably say no. New England, maybe. Philadelphia, maybe. Buffalo, no, they just spent that second round pick on James Cook. Kansas City, maybe. Seattle, they can't. Chicago, they're not a contender. And also I'd be very surprised if they made the in-division trade. Denver, definitely no. Washington, I guess, is a possibility now. Giants, no. Bucks, no. Miami, I feel is highly unlikely given the amount of running backs they brought into the room this offseason. Detroit, highly unlikely. New Orleans, I think, is a possibility. Baltimore could, depending on the price tag and dependent on the health of Gus Edwards and Dobbins. I think it's highly unlikely, but I think it would be in the range of outcomes if those two guys are just nowhere close to being ready. Okay. Now let's move this back around. So obviously we still need QBs. At this point, quarterbacks that would go with this build. Wentz at the very end. Mac Jones very late. Not too many possibilities we have. I mean, a lot of the players that we've selected are a part of elite level offenses. We are kind of building around the Kansas City Chiefs here where we have CEH, Mecole Hardman, and Travis Kelce. Jamison Williams off the board, 153. Hunter Henry goes 154. Great for us to see Renfro go. And thank God we are going to get Christian Watson. Let's queue up Watson. Watson's going to be a no-brainer selection for us here. And then after that, let's try to think about what we could be bringing in. If we go Trevor Lawrence, we could still look to snag, say, Jones later on, Marvin Jones later on. We can't take Robbie Anderson anymore here. You know what? We probably have to take Christian Watson and then Kenny Golladay. Obviously, Golladay looks like a wasted pick at this point. Obviously, Golladay looks like a straight-up bomb. We need receivers. If he can get behind NFL defenses just for a few plays, maybe he can give us some spike weeks in a best ball format. So let's go ahead. Let's take Christian Watson and Kenny Golladay here at the 13-14 turn. So far at tight end, keep in mind, best ball tournament here. I have to go with a little bit of a different approach compared to a shallow redraft league. We have the combo of Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. At running back, we have James Conner, Cam Akers, Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, Tyler Boyd, Devontae Parker, Mecole Hardman, Christian Watson, Kenny Golladay. Hopefully what this team ends up seeing, what we really need to see, is a Christian Watson breakout. That's a lot of my teams. A lot of my teams need a highly unlikely Christian Watson breakout, but if it happens in a tournament-style contest, we'll be feeling good. So now we have J.D. McKissic, Brian Robinson going off the board here in the middle of the 14th. Let me know what y'all think about this real quick. So based on my understanding of Jimmy Garoppolo restructuring his contract at this point, it does sound like it is literally just so they have the possibility to actually move him when we're in the season. It doesn't sound like this has anything to do with the possibility of Trey Lance not being the starter. It sounds like Lance is still 100% good to go, but are y'all worried at all with Jimmy Garoppolo restructuring this contract? Okay. Connor says, do you still like DeAndre Swift in a non-PPR format? Given the lack of overall touchdown upside that I think we'll have in Detroit, where obviously in a non-PPR league, the main thing you're chasing is touchdown upside, I do think you have to be significantly less excited about DeAndre Swift than you would be in a PPR league. Okay. Jayan says, Lance is still the starter. Yeah, I think that you see the people in this draft as well operating under that assumption that it is Trey Lance this upcoming year, where you get Trey Lance not falling a single bit. Trey Lance still going here, pick 65, goes 13 picks before Joe Burrow. So it looks like the drafters here in particular are not scared at all. Okay, so yeah, everybody's saying not worried at all yet. I think that's where I stand as well. I was kind of hoping that somebody would come out here and sound the alarms going, oh my God, maybe this is... I was kind of hoping that we could potentially get Lance at a discount. Looks like it's not happening though. Okay, so we have Tyler Higbee off the board at 170. Let's swing this back around. Obviously, Robbie Anderson falling as he should with Laviska Shenault coming over. I think that now this pretty much just means Terrace Marshall has absolutely no shot whatsoever to be effective this year. Yeah. But at what point would we just pull the trigger on Robbie Anderson? Obviously, we are still going to be desperate for wide receiver production here. I think that we need to bring in at minimum an 8th guy. So Taysom Hill going off. This is great for us. We want to see as many of these tight ends get drafted as possible. Every single one of these teams, actually 3 of the 4 teams right before us only have 1 tight end. So maybe we can see a couple more of these guys like Hayden Hurst, like Evan Ingram, like Noah Fant go. But we'll see. We'll see. And of course, we're going to fire up another draft after this. Thank you all so much, everybody, for supporting the channel. We just passed 300 likes in the stream. Absolutely crazy. Thank you, guys. I'll be happy to go through and fire up another draft after this one. Now, what does this team decide to do? They go Hayden Hurst, great for us. They go Hayden Hurst, great for us. Tyrion Davis-Price off the board, 175. Honestly, I like the idea of just trying to catch the falling knives here. Isaiah Spiller looks significantly worse at this point than he did a month ago. That's why a month ago he was going in the 12th round. We were getting him at the 15-16 turn. And I think with Robbie Anderson, Laviska Shenault's not too much of a worry where we're not going to pass up on him and pick 181 where we need to bring in an extra wide receiver on this format. So yeah, we have probably going into the season with a 3-5-8-2 build. A 3-5-8-2 build. Okay. So let's move this down. And last 2 picks, we're just going to take quarterback. So to be honest with you, I'm going to go just queue up some QBs and then we will fire into our next draft here. I think we have a couple different stacking options later on. And there's one quarterback that I think could give us an elite level ceiling. Not necessarily guaranteed, but definitely a possibility. So let's go ahead, queue those guys and then fire into our next draft. Okay, so this is going to be the Pomeranian. So this is going to be that $3 entry, $100,000 prize pool, 0% rake draft on Underdog. So let's fire this up. 10 spots open. So it looks like we're going to be drafting with almost exclusively members of the flock here. Oh, dear God. We're drafting exclusively with members of the flock, it feels like. Let's see what we are doing. We get the 1-to-1, so we're going to lock in Jonathan Taylor here at the first pick. I mean, we ended up getting JT at a very nice price point later on. Okay. Mark coming out says Romeo Doubs for the Packers, a wide receiver 1 by the end of the season. What are your thoughts? Given the fact that I think that you're looking at Allen Lazard as, I don't want to say exactly a replacement level wide receiver, but Allen Lazard probably is one of the worst wide receiver 1s in the NFL for any individual team. Like, I think it's in the range of outcomes for that to happen with Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson. I think both rookie wide receivers have it as a possibility. I've been going ahead. I've been taking Christian Watson over Romeo Doubs this offseason. Now, if we're going to just go through this thought experiment, how many teams do you think have a better wide receiver 1 than the Green Bay Packers, or worse wide receiver 1? San Francisco, better. Vegas, better. New England, maybe New England has a worse wide receiver 1. Outside of that, the New England Patriots, Darnell Mooney's a more talented receiver than Laviska Shenault. Obviously, Denver has one. Terry McLaurin's better. Jefferson's better. I would argue Kadarius Toney's better. Yeah, looking across the NFL right now, I would make the argument that Allen Lazard is a bottom 3 QB1 for an NFL team. I think that it is in the range of outcomes for Allen Lazard to not be the wide receiver 1 for the Green Bay Packers by the time we get to the end of the season or even halfway through the year. Now, Noob Drafter coming out says, how's my draft in a full PPR format? We got Cousins, Higgins, Deontay Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Cole Kmet, Hollywood Brown. And then down there on the bench, we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Tony Pollard, Melvin Gordon, and Jalen Tolbert. I like the team with Kirk Cousins. It's an interesting thought experiment on where he actually matters in fantasy at this time of the year. Because I would argue that, yes, in these best ball drafts, we're drafting quarterbacks very late. Like guys like Carson Wentz are getting drafted. Yeah, you have to have an accurate projection on Kirk Cousins. I think it can be a lot more exciting now that you have Kevin O'Connell coming over, possibly making this a more pass-happy offense in general, possibly Justin Jefferson taking yet again another step forward this upcoming season. But in a 12-team shallow redraft format, when you have absolutely no, and I repeat, no rushing upside at all for Kirk Cousins, realistically speaking, I don't love the idea of having him as our quarterback in a shallow redraft league. I feel like he's an option that has a very high floor, but a very capped ceiling. So if we were to be able to go through and say, take Kirk Cousins and then someone down there on the bench like a Michael Thomas, who I even like, but if we were able to get to a respectable quarterback that has a very high ceiling, someone like a Trey Lance in a 4-point passing touchdown format, I think that'll make a crap ton of sense. Now, Chief coming out, thank you, my friend, says, in a super flex draft, I got too many Chargers. We have Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert at quarterback, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen at receiver. Would you trade Mike Williams and Jalen Hurts for Matthew Stafford and Michael Pittman? Okay, two separate things we're looking at here. A, you do not have too many Chargers. You are doing exactly what you want to do. You are building in correlation with your roster. You are making that one consolidated bet that the Los Angeles Chargers are going to be a better passing team than the overall market indicates. And if that happens, then you hit on Justin Herbert. Then you hit on Keenan Allen, and you probably hit on Mike Williams, all with that one bet. So no, I don't like the idea of breaking up this double stack. I don't like the idea of that at all. But at the same time, if we're going to look at the value, I'd argue that Mike Williams to Michael Pittman is a slight upgrade. But Jalen Hurts to Matthew Stafford in a 4-point passing touchdown at least is going to be a massive downgrade. Don't do that. Don't do that. Please, please, please. Just keep the Los Angeles Chargers stack. Okay. But Alvin Kamara going at the very top end of the second round, as we saw in the last draft as well. If y'all were drafting with us about a month ago, y'all saw that we were able to get Alvin Kamara relatively often. I know you're not going to believe me with this one, but please, please, just trust me. Trust me. We were able to get him relatively often in the 4th round of Best Ball Mania drafts. Like, absolutely crazy that was happening, that when people were so scared of that suspension. That other draft looks like we were going to be coming away with definitely Carson Wentz at QB when we decided to take Mclaurin. That's our last quarterback. Who could we take? Literally no idea. Okay, but we are on the clock here. Yeah, Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts going before us. God, Kyle Pitts continuing to slide up. We're going to go ahead. We are going to take Tyreek Hill and We'll take Leonard Fournette as well. Whatever. Let's go ahead. Let's take Leonard Fournette. Part of an elite level offense that should see a consistent amount of dump offs because of the lack of mobility that you have with Tom Brady. Team's going to be pushing the pace of play like we saw last year. They're going to be probably the number one team in the NFL in passing rate over expectation. Like literally, I distinctly remember this. Last year, watching the Chicago Bears and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play. Tampa up 35-0. Legitimately, this is the score. 35-0. First and goal on like the 3-yard line. Throw the ball in completion. Second and goal. Throw the ball in completion. Third and goal. Throw the ball in completion. Fourth and goal. You're up 35-0 on the 3-yard line. I would think that a normal team goes ahead. They kick the field goal. But no, Tom Brady's looking to go out there, add to the legacy, add to just the overall raw number of passing yards he has. And they want to throw the ball again. Fourth down, 35-0. So I think we are going to see something similar this upcoming season where there's just a ridiculous amount of passing attempts to go around in Tampa. And Fournette was a running back that was able to draw 6 targets a game last year. Now, SD coming out says 10-team non-PPR, 3 wide receivers, who to target at the 110-201. In a non-PPR format in particular, like the optimal flex play is going to be moving over from receiver to running back, where you're actually probably wanting to get running backs into your flex in a non-PPR format in particular. So if you're picking at 10, obviously underdog's going to be a little bit different. You're not going to have the option to get Derrick Henry at pick 10, but some of these other running backs that you could be coming away with, like a Joe Mixon and a Najee Harris, in that format in particular, in a non-PPR league, I like the idea of doing that. But Alex coming out, thank you again, my man, says, hey, Mason, coming at you from Manchester, England again. Can you name me some potentially better draft values than Chris Godwin in the 6th? Personally, I love Godwin, one of my most drafted wide receivers in fantasy this year, because I think a lot of people are overly pessimistic with the downside of the injury for Chris Godwin coming back in Tampa. But I agree with you. I think that he is a fantastic value in the 6th round, because if you're going ahead and looking at the raw upside you have, we just got done talking about how prolific the passing volume should be for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're looking at a wide receiver drafted in 2017 that's obviously continuing to emerge in his target share compared to Mike Evans or his yards per route run over the past 3 years. Chris Godwin has been the better wide receiver. Obviously, Mike Evans is the guy with the touchdown upside. But still, we saw Chris Godwin be the wide receiver 2 in fantasy football on a points per game basis back in 2019. I would argue that if he was 100% healthy, you would have Chris Godwin in the 2nd round. And it sounds like he's not going to miss more than the first few weeks of the season, where, hell, you don't have any bye weeks. It's not the fantasy football playoffs, so very hard for me to name a better value than Chris Godwin in the 6th round. That's a very hard thing to do. Okay. So now we have Gabriel Davis off the board here, 41. Let's swing this back around. Breece Hall has been falling more and more here to the 4-5 turn. Ezekiel Elliott off the board, 43. Y'all know usually what our plan A is here at the 4-5 turn. Y'all know what that usually is. Well, we'll see if we're able to pull it off. I don't know how likely it is. I would say, based on this draft board, very unlikely. Yes, plan A out the window. Lamar Jackson goes at pick 45. We are unable to bring in an elite level quarterback at this point. That definitely sucks. It is what it is. We'll be able to go through. We'll be able to make the adjustments. There are 3 guys that I really want. I guess you could throw a 4th guy onto that list. One of them off the board. And 2 of them off the board. Let's go ahead. Let's take Kittle. Let's grab the elite level tight ends. Let's look at who's going to be available to us as a 6-7 turn. And we'll go ahead. We'll take Breece Hall. Obviously, Breece Hall falling based on the bad reports that it looks like Michael Carter Jr. starting off the year in New York as the starting running back here. But at the end of the day, we are drafting to optimize for weeks 15, 16, 17 in a tournament style contest. For weeks 15, 16, 17, I do think that you have Breece Hall as the starting running back in a very bad New York Jets offense. But if there's ever going to be a running back that I think can overcome the lack of overall touchdown upside that you will have in an offense, it's going to be very similar to James Robinson 2 years ago, where it's hard to bet on an undrafted free agent to go out there and do that, or someone that goes on day 3 of the NFL draft, but someone that checks every single box to be a 3-down workhorse at the NFL level. If he can get to just 75%, 80% of the touches on a per game basis, especially when we know he can have the role in the receiving game there in New York, I think he can overcome the bad offensive play. Now we have Juju Smith-Schuster off the board, 52. Yeah, so our initial plan was to go with either Deontay Johnson, Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, or Breece Hall. When obviously just getting completely sniped there, all 3 of our guys going directly before us. But it is what it is. I think we'll be fine hitting wide receiver at the 6-7 turn here. Rashad Bateman off the board, pick 54. Bateman has been someone that I just have not drafted at all. Like, I'll draft Bateman if he falls to like the middle of the 6th round. But where he goes in the majority of these drafts, I'm just completely off that price. Michael Thomas goes 55. Chris Godwin off the board as well. Let's see best players available. Yeah, Brandon Cooks falling a considerable amount here. Brandon Cooks does have that ADP of 51. I personally am not a big Brandon Cooks guy. I mean, I think that it's going to be much harder for wide receivers to overcome a lack of overall offensive efficiency than it will be those running backs we were discussing with Breece Hall. I think that those running backs can overcome it and can give you an elite level ceiling just based off volume alone, where wide receiver, you kind of have to have the passing efficiency in the offense. And I know a lot of people like Davis Mills this upcoming season, but I am not one of those guys. I'm not one of those guys. I'm very sorry. And real quick, we are about to pass 400 likes on the live stream. Thank y'all so much for everybody going down there and dropping a like in the stream. Y'all just been crushing this. Like I said, I did not think there was any way we were getting to 90,000 subs before the season started. That's why I said we would do that 24-hour live stream. But at this rate, it looks like that is going to be something that we have to end up doing, which, for the love of God, I have no idea. No idea how we're going to do that. Okay, so Brandon Cooks, DK Metcalf off the board here. Dalton Schultz goes 62. Okay, probably good for us to get Dalton Schultz off the board. We just really need some wide receivers making it to us at this point. Paul says, tell me why Dylan's ADP is so much higher when I can get Tony Pollard a little later on. I would say based on the build that you have with A.J. Dillon and combine that with the fact that he did demonstrate the ability to catch the football when Aaron Jones missed games, which was not necessarily something that we are expecting him to be able to do. You are looking at A.J. Dillon with the upside to be a top 3 running back in fantasy if something were to occur to Aaron Jones. That's in the range of outcomes for Dillon where we can maybe try to act like that's a possibility. If we are going to go ahead, if we are going to look at Tony Pollard, I would say based on his frame, I don't think he can ever handle the same type of workload that you would have with a Dillon. But Ayuk off the board here, 69. See what Doge, whatever it's called, does. They have Akers running back, receiver Jefferson, Higgins, Hollywood. You go David Montgomery, 70. Hopkins off the board. I think we go ahead. We go Amari. And then we do we go with the hyper fragile build by taking Elijah Mitchell here? We're going to go with the hyper fragile build. We're going to take Elijah Mitchell, and we are not going to draft another running back after this. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead. We're going to go with the hyper fragile build. This did win Best Ball Mania 2 years ago. Last year wasn't as effective, but obviously last year was one individual slate. Now, Jason coming out says, my sister doesn't watch football or fantasy. Drafted this team herself, and I am crapping myself. We got Burrow, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Jamar Chase, Brandon Cooks, Hunter Henry, Darnell Mooney, and deep upside bench wide receivers graded. I would say it's a great team if it's a 12-team format. Of course, every team's going to look great if it's like an 8-team league, if it's a 4-team league. But no, it looks like it's a very strong roster in general. I mean, moves to possibly make. You have the Burrow Chase stack out there. You have a possible top 3 running back with Derrick Henry. You have a possible top 5 running back Aaron Jones. Very strong team. Maybe if we can go through, if we can trade one of those upside wide receivers on the bench with Hunter Henry to get an upgraded tight end, that could be exciting. But Mixon or Henry in a half PPR format. And what do you think of Chase Edmonds? Personally, I have been going ahead. I've been taking Joe Mixon ahead of Derrick Henry in full PPR formats, half PPR league. I hate to do this because it's the laziest thing I could ever do. And obviously it does not help anyone, but in a half PPR format, it's up to you. It's genuinely up to you. I think the majority of people would decide to go ahead. I think they would decide to go Derrick Henry. I think you can have an argument for either player. Full PPR league, give me Joe Mixon. Half PPR format, I still probably take Mixon, but I'm not going to fault anybody for deciding to go with the Derrick Henry. And here, I think you should be very excited if you were going to be looking at Chase Edmonds' upside in Miami, given the improvement that we have with the offensive line to the Miami Dolphins compared to where they were a year ago. And then on top of that, if we are going to be looking at the fact that, we know he's a great pass-catching running back. We know that he is a fantastic pass catcher. Okay. So if Chris Olave, Tony Pollard off the board, great. We need to see these running backs go. Like if all of a sudden we're sitting on the clock and Tony Pollard is sitting there for us, it's just going to be a spot where I break down and cry on the live stream. That's all that would happen. You would see a young boy break down and cry on a live stream. Now, Hawkinson off the board, 91. I would have taken Hawkinson if he would have fallen. We would have paired up Hawkinson and Kittle, not had to take another tight end after that. MVS goes 92. Okay, so let's look at what these teams are built with. Quarterback, you have Lamar. Running back, Chubb. Jacobs, they go Miles Sanders here. Miles Sanders, 93. This is where his ADP still is. Very rarely do you see Miles Sanders go in the 8th round anymore. Very rarely do you still see that happen. Lagardo says, Connor for Robert Woods and Cam Akers in a 10-team full PPR format. I think in a 10-team full PPR format, Robert Woods isn't making a big enough difference. We just want the best player, and the best player is going to be Jacobs. Okay. Brady goes 94. Brady would have been a player that we would have been excited about. It is what it is. We can't take him. I think we go and we get the Tennessee Titans, a wide receiver stack here. We go ahead and we take Robert Woods and Treylon Burks. Possibly decide to go through and take Ryan Tannehill a little later on. Maybe with this team, we're just going to go through and make that one consolidated bet that the downgraded offensive line you have for the Tennessee Titans this offseason makes this team be a little bit more pass happy. And if they're pass happy, I think that you could see a decent ceiling in the range of outcomes for both these two guys. Okay. So Damien Harris off the board for us, 98. Perfect. We need to see running backs go. When we take 4 running backs through the first 7 rounds, we need to see running backs off this board. Okay. But in terms of quarterbacks we're going to be looking at later on, Tannehill makes sense. Tua possibly. Outside of that, obviously, y'all know I'll be going ahead taking Deshaun Watson if we can at a value. Given the fact that this is a tournament best ball league. You don't do it in a shallow redraft league. Okay. Now we have Lockett off the board at 99. Lockett is not the worst value in the world. I mean, I am going to be fine taking Lockett here. It's going to be much more difficult to decide to go ahead and to take Tyler Lockett if you are playing in that league where you have to submit your starting lineup every single week, because feels like it would be a very difficult spot figuring out exactly when you're going to have the breakout for Tyler Lockett. I'm sorry, not the breakout for Lockett, the spike weeks for Tyler Lockett. Okay. Cameron coming out, thank you, says 10-team PPR limit of 5 per running back receiver. Thoughts on trading Elijah Mitchell and Jalen Waddle for Javonte Williams, Rashad Bateman, and Michael Thomas? It is so boring for me to say this, and this is why I think Dynasty Fantasy Football, where you have deep rosters, is probably the superior format, where trades are a little bit more nuanced than this. But 9 times out of 10, if we're playing in this shallow redraft league where guys at the end of your bench are players like freaking Michael Thomas. I think we go ahead. I think we just take the best player in the deal. And I love me some Jalen Waddle, but the best player in this deal is clearly going to be Javonte Williams, especially in a 10-team format where we are slightly more incentivized to go after those high upside RBs. So then we take Javonte there. Okay. Real quick, if y'all have not done so already, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream. And if you want to get in our next draft, I'm going to try to have a very long live stream. I think last night we did 6-7 drafts. Maybe we do something similar tonight. If you want to get in one, make sure you go down there and sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Their best ball drafts, no time commitment at all during the season. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You're going to get our 2022 fantasy football rankings. You're going to get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, which will help you even if you've already had your draft for legitimately a $10 deposit. And we do these live streams every single night. And if we do that 24-hour live stream, if we hit 90,000 subscribers, we'll be drafting on to Underdog as well. So I'd imagine y'all want to be able to come out here and draft with us during that stream. Okay. So Daryl Henderson going off the board here, 109. A great thing for us to see Daryl Henderson go. Like as many of these running backs off the board as possible. Great for us. Cap says, good to be back. Flock, finally about to head into my 12-team PPR 3 wide receiver draft pick at 1. What's your take on running back, tight end, running back? Not liking the wide receivers in the first 5 rounds. I would say specifically in this league, if you have to start 3 wide receivers, I actually would be a lot more inclined to go wide receiver at the 2-3 turn or wide receiver at the 4-5 turn than you're indicating. I still love the idea of going Jonathan Taylor pick 1. I think you do that almost regardless of format. But if you have to start 3 wide receivers and you end up getting like a Mike Evans, a Debo Samuel, or if your league mates have no idea what they're doing and they let CeeDee Lamb make it back to you at the 2-3 turn, I would be completely fine taking a wide receiver in that range, in that format in particular. Okay. But Kirk Cousins off the board here, 113 to Card Muffin. Card Muffin is a member of the flock. They have been for quite some time. I don't get that. I don't get the Kirk Cousins selection, though. Now, Stafford off the board at 115. Kenneth Walker goes 116. Great for us. We want to see as many of these running backs go as possible, as we've already said. Pascal coming out says, what do you think about my 12-team full PPR, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, where we got Jalen Hurts, Joe Mixon, Dobbins, Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Kelsey. Love the elite quarterback. Love the elite level tight end in this format. I think it's a necessity to go through and build around the elite level quarterback and the elite level tight end in this kind of league in particular. Okay, so let's go take Rodgers and then... Do we have to do it? I guess we have to do it. I think Rodgers is a strong value. I'm going to be taking him here almost regardless. There are some other wide receivers I definitely prefer over Romeo Doubs on the board, but when we take Rodgers, I feel like we have to go ahead and we have to take him. But yeah, going back to what we were saying, I love the idea that you have the elite level tight end, you have the elite level quarterback in a league where you only have 1 flex spot. I would say definitely on that bench, you're saying you have guys like Chase Claypool. I think we just swing for the fences with running backs that are an injury away to elite level ceilings. Like instead of rostering guys like Chase Claypool, like in this format, someone like a Tony Pollard is worth infinitely more than Chase Claypool. Now we have Michael Gallup off the board at 124. Oh, Gallup is a significantly better receiver, or Jahan Dotson's a significantly better option than what we did at 121. I just feel like when we have Rodgers here available to us, we probably want to go ahead and take him. Dylan coming out says, Subflock, love the channel. I took Pitts at the 105 after Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Chase went off the board of my Dynasty Superflex. What do you think? I love me some Kyle Pitts. And if this is a Dynasty Superflex startup where you have to start 2 tight ends, not only is it tight end premium where you get 1.5 points per reception for the tight end position, but maybe you have to start 2 tight ends every single week as well, then sure, I'm completely fine with it. But if you only have to start 1 tight end, that's a little bit rich there. Okay. Now, Kelly coming out, thank you, says, just did my first draft where we have Joe Burrow, Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, A.J. Dillon, Kenneth Gainwell, Raheem Mostert, Chase, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sky Moore, Cole Kmet, Gesicki, Jake Elliott, Packers defense. Okay, so let's look through this. Love that we have the Burrow Chase stack. I think we have a couple running back ones here with Aaron Jones and Nick Chubb, even if they are low-end RB1s. We have a running back with an elite level ceiling with A.J. Dillon. If this is a PPR format where you're going to get that bonus for someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown, I really like it. And I love the idea of rostering those high upside players down there on the bench, like a Sky Moore, where maybe you cut him through the first month of the season, or maybe he breaks out and he does become this year's Jalen Waddle and gives you that elite level ceiling from the very end of your draft. Okay. Now we have, after we take Romeo Doubs, we have a decent amount of receivers going. A lot of these receivers I prefer over Romeo. A lot of them. But Preston coming out says, having trouble deciding who I should take. Who should be my last flex in a 12-team PPR format. Are we going to go Ramondre, Damien Harris, or Devin Singletary? Would love to hear your thoughts. I would say for week 1 in particular, I wouldn't mind going ahead and taking Devin Singletary. I have not been drafting Devin Singletary a lot in fantasy this year because I do think as the season goes on, you should expect that you do get James Cook with the expanded role over and over and over. I don't know what we were saying there. I think James Cook should expand his role over and over again as the season goes on. Oh my gosh, what am I talking about? But for week 1 in particular, Devin Singletary should have touchdown upside. The issue is what happens if this is a 3-man committee and Zach Moss has a role. So I'd like to continue to monitor the reports, but I would be fine going Devin Singletary earlier on in the year before we expect James Cook to have that massive role. Okay, let me scroll to the top of this draft for everybody just now coming in. And of course, thank you so much for everybody just now coming into this live stream. We just passed 500 likes on the stream. Absolutely wild. Y'all been showing an immense amount of support as of late. And all I got to say is thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. I genuinely appreciate it. Like last night, we had 1,000 likes in the stream in like an hour, which was unbelievable. And Skeleton says, a first-time flock draft, how does the 111 look? Let's go through. Let's check out the 111. We're at running back. We have Mixon, Dillon, James Conner. And then later on, we took Alexander Madison, 134. I like the Alexander Madison value. Then a receiver, we go CeeDee Lamb at pick 14. Really like the pick of CeeDee Lamb. Mike Williams, 38. I've never seen Mike Williams fall this far on Underdog. Hunter Renfrow, 83. We decided to get Derek Carr stacked up with Hunter Renfrow a little later on. We have Dak Prescott stacked with Mr. CeeDee Lamb. Rondale Moore, 110. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of Rondale Moore in this range. I probably would prefer going James Cook. Love the Pat Fryme selection. Alex said, I like the team overall. I think there are only 1 or 2 different things I would have done, but at the end of the day, I'm an idiot. So you probably were right. Okay, so now let's... Albert O off the board. Let's swing this back around. And as we were discussing, I think Tua Tagovailoa is in play here, given the fact that we did decide to go ahead and draft Tyreek Hill at the 2-3 turn. Now the issue is, if we take Tua, we're done drafting quarterbacks. Let's see what this team does. They go Tua. Honestly, I didn't really want to, so I feel like they kind of save us here. Do we go ahead and just take Jacoby Myers and KJ Osborne? I like KJ Hamler over KJ Osborne, if I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like based off ADP, maybe we... No, screw ADP. Let's go ahead. Let's take KJ Hamler. We're going to get KJ Hamler here at 145. One of my most drafted players. I think we just need to take shots on receivers in elite level offenses that could see random spike weeks when we're going to go with the hyper fragile build. We're going with that hyper fragile build where we only have Taylor, Fournette, Breece Hall, Elijah Mitchell at running back. We're probably going to load up on 9 receivers, maybe 10 receivers with this draft, where we have Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, Romeo Doubs, Jacoby Myers, and KJ Hamler. Dylan coming out, thank you, my friend, says, how do you feel about the team in a 10-team PPR league where we have at quarterback Josh Allen, at tight end Travis Kelce? Okay, so in a 10-team league, we have the quarterback 1 and the tight end 1 overall in fantasy. I think you're probably sitting in a pretty good spot, my friend. And then after that, at receiver, we have Mclaurin, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, and then at running back, we have Derrick Henry and Javonte Williams. You're in a great spot. I mean, I think that in this format in particular, it really does come down to just going and grabbing that elite level quarterback, grabbing that elite level tight end, because it's going to be very easy to find running back and wide receiver value off the waiver wire as the season goes on with guys with relatively high ceilings as well. I love that team. Derek coming out says, let's get to 90,000. As always, I appreciate you, my man, and hey, you better be hopping in a draft with us tonight. I know we can't do any more of the big dog drafts. I know we can't do any more $250 drafts, but you better be out here in one of these Pomeranians. Okay. So now we have Christian Watson off the board at 153. Honestly, I'm an idiot. Why the hell did I not take Christian Watson? I am so... Why would I not take Christian Watson over KJ Hamler there? Christian Watson's the easy play. Literally in my mind, whenever we took Aaron Rodgers, I didn't want to take Romeo Doubs. It's like, okay, let's not take Doubs. Instead, we'll get Christian Watson later on in the 13th. Oh my gosh. This was a horrible, horrible selection by me, guys. I apologize. We should have gone Christian Watson at 145, especially if we think that he is the elite level ceiling weeks 15, 16, 17. Okay. Now we have Jarvis Landry off the board here at the end of the 13th as well. Yeah, guys, there's no excuse for that KJ Hamler selection. I like Hamler. I want to get Hamler where I can, but where we have Rodgers, there's no reason we should be taking KJ Hamler over Christian Watson. There's no reason for that. Okay. But at this point, there are a couple different players that I am excited about. Robbie Anderson goes 158 in the last draft. Didn't we get like Robbie Anderson at the 16, 17? No, we got him at the 15, 16 turn. We got Robbie Anderson at the 15, 16 turn. Interesting to see him go here 158, whereas, I mean, there's just no Laviska Shenault fear at all with this pick. I think Laviska does not play the same role as Robbie Anderson. I think it's about Terrace Marshall. I think if we look at what Terrace Marshall was last year, they're like, okay, we can't go through. We can't throw Terrace Marshall out on the field this upcoming season. Okay. So Isaiah Spiller off the board, 161. This point, good. Every running back we see, we are happy about. Every running back that goes off, we're happy about. We're sitting with Jonathan Taylor, Leonard Fournette, Breece Hall, and Elijah Mitchell. I don't think we're taking another running back with this team. Jamison Williams goes 163. Williams would have been a player that we would have been excited about grabbing. I mean, in this range, Jamison Williams, in my opinion, is by far and away the best value. By far and away the best value. Then David Njoku off the board here, 164. David Njoku would have been also another player we were looking at. Just given the fact if we would have taken David Njoku, we would have set ourselves up potentially with the double stack of Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, and David Njoku a little later on. Alec Pierce off the board, 165. Maybe you can make the argument Mason. You have Jonathan Taylor. Go ahead, take Matt Ryan here and follow it up with Paris Campbell. I'm not that excited about that. I'm not too excited to ever go out there and draft Matt Ryan. Everett off the board. I think we go ahead. We lock in Robert Tonyan to get the double stack there with Aaron Rodgers. I think with Robert Tonyan and George Kittle, we'll have enough firepower at tight end when we don't have to take another one of these guys. And then I actually like the idea of just grabbing another receiver here. I do think that Van Jefferson obviously will potentially miss the beginning portion of the season. We'll probably miss the beginning portion of the season, but given the overall production we should expect in Los Angeles with Matthew Stafford under center, and based on the individual spike weeks we had last year, and now you have no Robert Woods, now you have no Odell Beckham Jr., of course, Allen Robinson is there, but still, I think he is a great pick here at 168. So far, running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, Leonard Fournette, Breece Hall, Elijah Mitchell, probably done at running back. At tight end, we have George Kittle and Robert Tonyan. And then at receiver, we have Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, Romeo Doubs, Jacoby Myers, KJ Hamler, Van Jefferson. And then we have Aaron Rodgers there with the double stack of Tonyan as well as Romeo Doubs. Okay. Let's scroll this down. Probably grabbing another receiver. And then knowing myself, we're probably going to get 2 QBs. CG says, honest thoughts on Michael Thomas. With Michael Thomas, elite level ceiling, we saw the ceiling back in 2019. I think that it was not being appropriately accounted for earlier in fantasy drafts about a month to 2 months ago, where you were getting Michael Thomas off the board like the wide receiver 40. Now where he goes in the 5th round, I do think that this is a much more appropriate price point for Michael Thomas, where it's significantly harder for us to go out there and just make video after video calling him the most undervalued wide receiver in fantasy. I think that it's a fair price point. There's not too much I can say, if we're going to be honest, regarding the 5th round value. And we have Isaac coming out. Thank you, my friend. Says, thoughts on my 10-team PPR format. We got Stafford, Eckler, Mixon, Evans, A.J. Brown, Dalton Schultz, Nick Chubb, benches Elijah Mitchell, Juju Smith-Schuster, Raheem Mostert, Brandon Ayuk, Chase Edmonds, George Pickens, and Cordell Patterson. Okay, so I would definitely like to move off Stafford here. I think that Stafford is one of those quarterbacks, very similar to what we were discussing earlier on with Kirk Cousins, where he does give you a very nice floor because we know Matthew Stafford's going to be a good real-life NFL quarterback. We know that he is going to be putting up a decent amount of passing volume. Now, the issue specifically with Stafford is when you have no rushing upside, you are going to be severely capped unless you're about to lead the NFL in passing yards and lead the NFL in passing touchdowns. We had no Cooper Kupp. We had no Allen Robinson on this build. So it's not like we're already making that bet where Matthew Stafford would correlate. And if he could lead the NFL in passing, we benefit in a couple different ways. So I think we have a few different ways we can go about this. I think we could look to trade Matthew Stafford for Tom Brady and maybe just throw a small bench piece on top of that and get that lateral move. Then you correlate with Mike Evans with a quarterback that is in a similar mold, but probably should be a little bit more prolific this upcoming year. Or what we should really do, at least what I would be really excited about doing, if this is a 4-point passing touchdown league, going out of our way, trying to package together Stafford in another one of these bench options, like in a Brandon Ayuk, like a Chase Edmonds, and go out there and overpay for a quarterback that has an extremely high ceiling, someone like Jalen Hurts. Now let's swing this back around. We're going to make our 2 picks, then we're going to queue up our 18th round selection, and we're going to fire up our next draft after this one. Of course, thank you so much for everybody coming out here, hanging out with us in the live stream, having a ton of fun. And I'm going to try to get 6-7 drafts going tonight. So if y'all want to get in a draft with us, go sign up for Underdog. Link in the description, link in the live chat. Go use promo code FLOCK. They'll match first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100, so it's free to try out. And at the same time, you will get our rankings and you will get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide. But at this point, if we're looking at quarterbacks that are available to us that make sense, we already talked about taking Tannehill. Tannehill does correlate with Robert Woods and Treylon Burks. We could have that double stack with that Tennessee Titans offense. Outside of that, we really don't have too many other quarterbacks that skill position players that the quarterbacks haven't gone off the board already. I really like Jared Goff as a value in this range, given the fact that, hell, he has Jamison Williams. He has DJ Chark. He has Amon-Ra St. Brown. He has DJ Hawkinson. He has DeAndre Swift. But Jared Goff goes here 188, so it doesn't really even matter for us. Okay. The Joe Riggs on the clock. They only have one quarterback. Their one quarterback is Lamar Jackson. They go Baker Mayfield. Thank God. Thank God. So we still could potentially grab our guys here. Isaiah Likely. This team only has 2, and they go Brevin Jordan. Very surprised to see that. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Tannehill. We're going to get that double stack in with Treylon Burks as well as with Robert Woods. And then maybe we just take Corey Davis, even though I definitely prefer David Bell. Why I'm thinking Davis. If we go Davis, we can get Zach Wilson in the last round. Well, Zach Wilson, Corey Davis, Breece Hall. Yeah, I probably prefer David Bell over Corey Davis, but for this build in particular, where I think we need to bring in a third quarterback, it will make sense to just go ahead and grab him. So yeah, this is going to be a team where we only draft 4 running backs, 9 receivers, 2 tight ends, and 3 QBs. Let me show this draft board off. The last guy we draft is most likely going to be a quarterback. Maybe we go crazy if we don't like any of the it's going to be a quarterback. I don't think we can roll to the season with Rodgers and Tannehill as our 2 guys. Okay. Let's move this down, and we are going to go through. We are going to fire up that next Underdog draft. This next draft is going to be that Pomeranian. So $3 buy-in, $100,000 prize pool, where you have 0% rake. 0% rake. So let's hop in here, and immediately full. I'd imagine that there are a decent amount of people in this live stream with us in this draft. Yeah, so let's go. Let's go. We are at the 104. We are going to get an elite level wide receiver. Very exciting to be able to start with an elite level wide receiver here. CG says, why is Robert Woods being slept on? Solid for a PPR format. I would say probably you are looking at a cap ceiling if we are looking at this Tennessee Titans passing offense where we're never expecting Tannehill to be a hyper-efficient quarterback. I mean, he really did rely on A.J. Brown for that efficiency over the past few years. Tannehill has been a significantly worse option in games where A.J. Brown's missed. But I agree with you. I think Robert Woods is a fine value where he's going. Like, we just took him at wide receiver 48 on a team where we needed a receiver. Hopefully he can give us top 24 production where we took him, I believe, as our wide receiver 4 on that build. Okay. So let me scroll this around. And dear God, guys. I just can't believe how many subscribers we have. Y'all been support. Y'all have gone crazy with the amount of likes y'all been dropping on these live streams with how much y'all been supporting this channel. Literally. Okay, we are going to go Cooper Kupp at 4. I mean, with Kupp, I want to get excited. I want to jump up and down, but you should usually expect Cooper Kupp at 4, so it's not going to be that surprising that we end up with him here. And crap, I need to go into our other draft real quick to make sure that I am not going to be auto-picking that 18th round pick. You have Devontae Adams here at 6. Devontae Adams going off the board at this point. before Stephon Diggs, very, very aggressive. Maybe you make the argument you take Devontae Adams this early, then all of a sudden you are going to be looking at a unique build later on. Oh, dear God. iHonk says, how many likes did we end up with last night? Was it a new record? Yeah, last night we ended up with like what, guys? 1.6? Like 1.6 thousand? Something crazy where obviously I think we would break the record if we go through that 24-hour live stream. But I don't think we're ever going to break that record outside of a 24-hour live stream of 1.6 thousand likes on the stream. At one point, there were double the amount of likes than people actually watching it. Okay, Derrick Henry makes it to pick 11 here. I think this should be a draft where we expect that these running backs fall, wide receivers go early. Probably a good spot for us to go ahead and take Cooper Kupp in the first. I think we have some strong values waiting for us later on, almost regardless. Okay. So Joe Mixon off the board here to the Dalvin Cook team at the 1-2 turn. So you have CeeDee Lamb still available. CeeDee Lamb seeing his way here to pick 14. How much CeeDee Lamb do I have? Like, what is my exposure of these guys here at the very end of drafts? Okay, do y'all want to take a guess on the percentage I own? We already covered Derrick Henry last night. Henry, I think I have an 8%. Yeah, Derrick Henry, we have in 8% of drafts. What do y'all think we have Dalvin in? Dalvin, okay. That's about what I thought. We have less Mixon than I thought. We are underweight on literally every single running back in this range. The only running back that we have outside of Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, in more than 8% of these drafts through the first, say, 15 picks here, the only running back that we have in more than 8% is actually Najee Harris. And that was back when Najee Harris was falling considerably. Remember, there was a point where he was going like the middle of the second round in a couple of drafts. And then we have Najee Harris in 9% of leagues. I guess it's just because we've been drafting so much Kelsey and Stephon Diggs. How much do I have? I feel like we haven't even been taking much Lamb. Yeah, we have Lamb in 9% of drafts, so very interesting. Okay, AJ Brown off the board. So we are going to end up with either, we are going to get Debo Samuel here. I think Debo Samuel is a unique combo with Cooper Kupp. With Debo, I am very concerned about a couple things, considering the transition over to Trey Lance's average at the target, the overall rushing touchdowns going away from a Debo Samuel. But I think in this draft, we want to go ahead. We want to hammer in 2 wide receivers early on when we have to start 3 of these guys every single week. Okay. So we have Tyreek Hill off the board here, 24. There are a couple different running backs that I like the value of at 28. I mean, Kyle Pitts would have been someone we would have taken, but I think we're going to be completely fine if we come away with a Leonard Fournette, Leonard Fournette, Nick Chubb, or T. Higgins. Honestly, I'm almost just drafting based off of ADP at this point with these 3 guys. I think after this trio of players in a half PPR format, maybe you're not as excited about Keenan Allen. So after this trio, guys, I do think you see a significant tier drop. Okay. So Nick Chubb off the board. We're going to go ahead. We're going to get T. Higgins here as our 3rd wide receiver. So it looks different than the first 2 drafts we did on the live stream tonight, but we just stay flexible in these drafts. We go with what the board gives us early on, and then we try to make the roster work around it later. So that team M Jerky decides to go Mike Williams pairing up with Devontae Adams, AJ Brown. I will definitely say not many teams are going to have that trio. Not many teams are coming away with that trio of receivers through the first 3 rounds. I think that is going to be a unique combo. Okay. And you have the Jamar Chase team deciding to take Josh Allen. Maybe they're going for week 17 correlation. Maybe they just like Josh Allen in general at this point. I would argue that Allen was a much stronger pick in the middle of the 3rd before you started seeing guys like Patrick Mahomes fall to the 5th. Like, now that we get Mahomes in the 5th, like, it's much harder for me to take Josh Allen here in the middle of the 3rd. I mean, even when we have Stephon Diggs, I'm not that excited about it. Thomas says, my wife is in your lobby as friggin' wife. Okay. Okay. We have Thomas's wife out here at pick 12. And that is awesome. And Tommy coming out says, thank you so much, Tommy. Says, how's this for a 12-team PPR year 2? I went crazy with trades, flipping all of them into CMC and 2023 first rounders. My starters currently Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, What are you talking? Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Pat Freiermuth, Joey B, gonna draft Pickens. Okay. Tommy, you know this is a beautiful day. Tommy came out here, wanted his message pinned to the top, wanted to flex on everybody out here. Oh, that is a beautiful team. I'm assuming we have no 2023 first. Okay, so you're saying in year one, you traded everything for 2023 first and Christian McCaffrey, and then I'm assuming you flipped him after this to come away with this monstrous team. A great squad, my friend. Great squad. I am happy for you. Okay. So now we have Gabriel, Davis, Hollywood Brown going up. Probably a pretty good thing to see a run on wide receivers here where James Conner's not going until pick 40, given the fact that we start Kupp, AJ Brown, and we start Kupp, Debo Samuel, and T. Higgins. So I think we are going to get some running back values that we like going later. And Seattle says, any help for us poor people in Washington who can't play? I'm sorry, my friend. There are a few states that Underdog is not available in because they're DFS laws. I mean, I would say, I heard that apparently if you write to the people in control of those laws, it actually makes a difference. I heard that on a sports betting podcast. I don't know if that's true, but I'm sorry. I wish I was a lawyer. I wish I knew when states were going to continue to roll out and be looser and looser with their restrictions with DFS, etc. But at this point, I can't help much, my friend. But yeah, I think the state's Underdog's not in. Washington, Nevada. I don't want to say too much, but Washington, Nevada, Louisiana. And real quick, we're going to go ahead and let's take Lamar Jackson. I mean, here with Lamar, I know we don't have Andrews. Usually goes the Andrews team in this range. I just love grabbing the elite level quarterback here, specifically with Lamar. I don't care about the stack when he has the rushing upside. But going back to what we were discussing, I think the states that Underdog is not available in, Washington, Nevada, Louisiana, Michigan, Hawaii, Connecticut. I think those are the 6. Let me know if I'm wrong on one. But I lived in Texas and Florida the past 2 years. We don't have sports betting, but we do have Underdog. Obviously, it's just a state-by-state basis. And then Ontario doesn't have it. The rest of Canada does. Okay. So now we have CJ says 12-team PPR. We got Russ, Eckler, Chubb, Sutton, Michael Thomas, Travis Kelce, Robert Woods. What are your thoughts? Love having Kelce in a shallow redraft format. Outside of that, we potentially have a top 5 running back with Austin Eckler, potential top 12 running back with Nick Chubb. We have the stack of Sutton and Russell Wilson. I would be interested if we could go through and trade Michael Thomas for Jerry Jeudy and just go all in on that passing offense there in Denver. I think that could be very appealing. Okay. So let's see what Jimmy's decides to do here. Let's read this report on Cam Akers. Okay, so Cam Akers, soft tissue injury, blah, blah, blah. Returned to practice fully on Monday. Neither player had suited up for a preseason game as the Rams prefer to keep their veterans rested. It appears both Akers and Henderson should be full go come week 1 on Thursday night against the Bills. Any smart person on the planet tells you, Mason, come on, man. You took Lamar Jackson in the last round. You take Lamar Jackson, go ahead, get that correlation in here. Take Rashad Bateman at his ADP the following rounds. Any smart person on the planet would tell you that. Any smart person on the planet would do that. But that is not me. I see Cam Akers pick 52. My lizard brain tells me, Mason, take Cam Akers pick 52, and it's that simple. So we're going to go ahead. We are going to take Akers. Okay. And then Jalen Hurts goes off the board 54. Very interesting to see this team decide to go ahead and get the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown stack and the Justin Herbert and Mike Williams stack. I really want to follow that team at 6 through the rest of this draft. Obviously, you want to be excited about this build if it was just a regular shallow redraft format, but in a best ball tournament, I definitely think that it does. It does have some upside, and I think you could be looking at a very unique build in general. Okay. So we have Rashad Bateman off the board here, pick 56. And real quick, we are about to pass 700 likes in the stream. Thank you so much for everybody who's gone down there and dropped a like in the live stream. I'm going to try to get 6-7 drafts going tonight for everybody. So, of course, if you want to join our next draft, go sign up for Underdog. You can find the link in the description, find the link in the live chat. It's best ball, so your automatic best starting lineup submitted for you at the end of every single week. That means there's no time commitment at all during the season. That's how I'm able to go through and draft over 700 of these teams. So it's the perfect spot if you want to get in just some extra drafts and then still focus in on the draft team that you really care about with your friends. Focus in on those waivers, focus in at the same time with your starting lineups there. It's a perfect spot to just get in some extra drafts on Underdog. And when you use promo code FLOCK, you get our rankings, you get our draft guide, which is going to help you. And if you've already had your draft, we're legitimately just a $10 deposit, and they'll match a deposit dollar for dollar up to $100 with code FLOCK. So it's free for you to try out. And this is also where we're going to be drafting for the 24-hour live stream. So if you want to draft with us on the live stream, you're going to have to sign up for Underdog. And we will be streaming for 24 hours. So for the love of God, I'm going to need you drafting with me. Okay, so now we have A.J. Dillon off the board here, 63. A.J. Dillon doesn't fall nearly as often to this range as he used to. Okay, so let's slide this back around. We have Christian Kirk off the board, 64. This is a very early for Christian Kirk. I wonder why we are seeing him go here when 9 times out of 10, you can get Christian Kirk in the 7th round in that same draft range. Okay, there are a couple different players that we are going to be looking at. Okay, so let's see what this team decides to do. Swift at running back. They decide to go ahead and take Elijah Moore there, I believe, as their 5th receiver. Yeah, that's their 5th wide receiver. It took Bateman in the previous round. I really like their team so far. DBR goes Dalton Schultz, 66. Michael Thomas off the board, 67. See what Jags fan decides to do. They have Allen at quarterback, so honestly, I think we're probably going to get Kyler here. I think we'll have a very unique build in the tournament-style contest of having Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson on the same team. Yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's take Kyler. We're taking Kyler at pick 69. If we're looking at the rest of this draft room as well, you had a team decide to pair up Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. So I think that there's a strong chance that we are going to be looking at quarterbacks having to slide up later on. And of course, you would not do this in a non-best ball league. You're only doing this because it's best ball, but specifically in a tournament as well, I do think it gives us a very unique build with an elite level, crazy ceiling every single week. Later on, we can get Rondale Moore. If we don't get Rondale Moore, we can get Zach Ertz. It's probably going to be the other way around. And then if we miss out on both of those options, we could still be coming away with, AJ Green at the very end of drafts, or maybe if we miss out on Green as well, we get Trey McBride in the 18th round. There are a lot of different ways to go about it. Okay. So Elijah Mitchell off the board. I'll swing this back around. Obviously, we're hoping we get guys like Joe Burrow off at this point. See what Jimmy's decides to do. Go with Maury Cooper. Let's go ahead. Let's take DeAndre Hopkins in a best ball tournament style contest in particular. I'm 100% going to be happy taking DeAndre Hopkins here for the ceiling that he'll have in weeks 15, 16, 17. If you're looking at us on a private draft on Underdog Fantasy, if we're just drafting between 11 other guys and it's not a tournament style contest, there I'm taking Josh Jacobs over DeAndre Hopkins because I don't care as much about the elite level ceiling that I'll have in weeks 15, 16, 17. But in this format in particular, I do think that it makes a lot of sense to just go ahead and lock in DeAndre Hopkins here. And let me know what y'all think of this team so far. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to lie to you, my friends. I'm an idiot. This DeAndre Hopkins pick, 10 times better than I was even giving it credit for. I forgot that we had taken Kyler. Literally, since we took Kyler Murray, this is the best pick ever. This is the best pick ever of going DeAndre Hopkins, getting that Kyler Murray stack. Oh, I'm very excited about what we have with this roster. Obviously, we want to find running back value later on, but based on the rest of this draft room, I think we're going to be able to. I think this is one of my favorite teams we've drafted in quite some time. I love this team. Okay. Chris says, why did you take both Kyler and Lamar? Because it's best ball. So with best ball, you don't submit your starting lineup every single week. The best starting lineup's automatically submitted for you at the end of the week. So if you take 2 elite level quarterbacks, it actually does show up in the numbers, at least it did last year, that it was a very profitable strategy and that you're just locking in like 25 points every single week at the quarterback position, where it's going to be very hard for people to catch up with you later on. Of course, if you're playing in a shallow, casual redraft format where you have the waiver wire, you submit your own starting lineup, you're never going through and taking Kyler Murray after you take Lamar Jackson. But here on Underdog, I think it does make a lot of sense. And oh my gosh, I am very excited about this. Very, very, very excited about this. Like, guys, this is one of the best teams we've drafted in a while. Y'all got to give me some credit on this one. Seattle Sauce coming out says, just want to throw you some support. Your videos have been awesome and helpful. Super impressed of how you can keep this pace up, get a comments, drafts, etc. Can't wait to see where this goes. Good luck. No, thank you so much, my friend, for coming out and supporting the channel. Thank you for hanging out with us in the live stream. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. And I know I sound like a broken record. I know I say this literally nonstop, but it's something that I have to say because it's truly unbelievable that y'all would listen this much to an idiot just ramble on about fantasy football. Thank you so much for everybody who comes out and hangs out with us in the live stream every single night. I could never imagine that this would be a thing. I don't know why it is. All I got to say is thank you, and I'm going to continue to do anything that I can for you. You can continue to hop in drafts with me. You can continue to take my money as I put together some atrocious teams. But aside of that, I don't know what else we can do. But give us him. Give him to us. Give us our guy. Come on. Give us our guy here. Okay, we are getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Y'all know I have an issue. Y'all know I have an issue where I cannot stop myself from drafting CH in the 8th round, almost regardless of what our team is, regardless of if it fits our build. My lizard brain, when we see Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 8th, there's something deep down within me that just says, oh my gosh, take him. Like, oh, I am so excited about getting CH here. Let me see what my exposure is on Clyde Edwards-Helaire at this point. We weren't drafting him that often at the beginning of the offseason, so I feel like it's not crazy, even though we've been taking him nonstop over the past like month because he goes in the 8th round. Yeah, so we are up to 11% on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Let me know, can y'all even see that when I show y'all my phone? But very excited about that. Our second running back here. I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a talented guy. Trust me. I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is an extremely talented running back. But I think that he is going to be playing in a Kansas City Chiefs offense where they're going to be approximately, and keep in mind, these are just rough numbers. I ran the projections this morning. This is off the top of my head. I think 1 million points scored. Something along those lines. Love CH there. Sanders off the board. I don't know what to say. We go ahead and take Antonio Gibson. I feel extremely bad for Brian Robinson. Great news. Brian Robinson is out of the hospital. Brian Robinson is also not even going on the PUP. Like, it sounds like Brian Robinson is 100% healthy and safe as an individual. I don't exactly know what it means from a fantasy football perspective on how much time he should miss. I do think this potentially opens up the door for Antonio Gibson if he hasn't lost all trust of this coaching staff to go out there. And what we talked about with Antonio Gibson the entire offseason is that he was one of these players that had an extremely wide range of outcomes, where if we looked at the athletic profile with his size, hell, he compared to guys like Jonathan Taylor, but at the same time, we looked at the actions of the Washington coaching staff this offseason and said, you know what, he may not even be the starting running back here. So I think he still has a wide range of outcomes, but in a tournament style contest, that's kind of what I'm going for. Okay. It's kind of what I'm going for. Okay, so it looks like nobody can ever see, and iHonk says we can never see, but it's still funny. Okay, thank you for clarifying. Maybe I won't go through and show my phone when we're trying to show off exposures anymore. I thought it was something that y'all could see, but y'all are just going to have to believe me on that one. We have 11% Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and if CH is going in this range going forward, I can guarantee you we're going to look to make that. We're going to look to make that higher. Okay. Now we have Julio Jones off the board at 106. Chase Claypool goes 105. I mean, we started very strong at wide receiver here. Like, we would like some of the wide receivers I'm a fan of to make it back to us at 117, 124. I have a few guys in mind, But at the end of the day, we have Kupp, Debo Samuel, T. Higgins, DeAndre Hopkins at wide receiver. Don't think we're dying to have wide receiver value make it back. What we really want to see is we want to see more quarterbacks go. When we have Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, obviously it doesn't matter if we have Justin Fields making it to the 18th round. We probably can't go through and take Justin Fields. We're probably just done drafting these guys here. So yeah, let's see what happens. Johnny coming out says, it's extremely entertaining and more helpful than you know. The best is ahead. Did anybody notice the mind trick Mason just used to get Clyde? Thank you. I don't know the mind trick I used to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire falling to us, but what I will say is probably deep down, we got some powers to make it happen. Like it was probably a subconscious mind trick that we used to get Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 8th. James says, J.D. McKissic is big enough to be a bell cow. Let me pull this up. For J.D. McKissic's best season of his NFL career, I'm going to love to hit you with this little trivia. For J.D. McKissic's best season of his NFL career, he came into the NFL in 2016. This is going to be his age 29 season. What do you think his best year in terms of average carries per game has been? Average carries per game. I'm going to be excited to hear your thoughts on this. We go Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, no-brainer selection. We don't have a tight end. We have Kyler Murray. We take Zach Ertz 117. Don't have to think about it for a second. Okay. Let me scroll this down. Antonio says 14. Then we have a guess 6.5. 5. We're saying best year ever in carries per game. 5. 6.5. His best season ever was 2020, where through 16 games, he had 85 rush attempts, 5.3 carries per game. The next best this past year, 4.4. After that, 3.5, then 2.4, then 1.0, then 0.6. Like, I don't think J.D. McKissic ever has it in the range of outcomes to be a player on first and second down. I think we know what J.D. McKissic is. In a best ball format, he's appealing, but beyond that, I don't really think we need to talk about it. We're going to go ahead. We're going to get a wide receiver that I love in this range. One of my most drafted players in fantasy at this point. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Michael Gallup, 124. A part of an elite level offense, in my opinion, a significantly better talent than Jalen Tolbert. I'm not worried about a wide receiver that had to stay 4 years at South Alabama. I'm going to be going ahead. I'm going to be taking Michael Gallup here confidently as a wide receiver that could be an every down player for the second half of the season for the most prolific passing offense in the NFL. I think it's going to be a very easy selection. So far, receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, Debo Samuel, T. Higgins, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Gallup. Quarterback, we have Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. At running back, we have Cam Akers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson. And then at tight end, we have Zach Ertz. Okay. Scroll this down. Jahan Dotson off the board, 127 here. Pat Freiermuth goes 128. The only thing that we can really root for, I mean, we need more running backs. We need more receivers. We need more tight ends. The only thing we're rooting for, I guess, is quarterbacks to go. Because that's the one thing we don't need. I think this is probably, considering the fact we got Kyler Murray falling to us at a crazy value, we still got DeAndre Hopkins on the way back around in the 7th, and we got Zach Ertz falling to us at 117. I think some things have broke right in this draft for us, but I think this is one of the best drafts we've had on the live stream, probably this week. And that's saying something, because we probably had 100 drafts, not 100, but we probably had, 40 drafts in the live stream this week. And Arusa coming out, thank you, says, going into my second year of fantasy, and I just found your channel, and the videos help a lot. Draft is on Sunday. Wish me luck. Good luck. Really hope that you crush it. Please get in some practice drafts beforehand. Get in some practice drafts beforehand, whether that's on Underdog or a different mock draft platform. I'd probably say Underdog because they're real money drafts, so people stick with it to the very end. And also, we will get a top 36 wide receiver ranking video out for you tomorrow. In a couple days, we'll probably get a top 36 running back ranking video out as well. So I think that should be able to help you a ton for those drafts this upcoming weekend. Okay. So Alexander Madison off the board here, 135. I think you don't want Alexander Madison to get traded. And reality, if we go through and look at potential landing spots for Alexander Madison, I don't necessarily see one where he would go to it and he would automatically just be a starting running back for an NFL team where he gets 20 touches a game. I don't think that's possible through trade for Alexander Madison. I think he's in a really good spot that, hell, I mean, obviously has the elite level ceiling if Dalvin Cook were to go down in front of him, and I don't think we want to be asking for much more than that. Yeah. So at this point, what are we looking for? Jacoby Myers off the board. Do we just take Devontae Parker? Be our 6th receiver. No, we're going to take Irv Smith Jr. The reason we're doing this is I think the wide receivers that are going to be available to us in the following round in the 13th are going to be comparable to guys that we have. I mean, comparable to Devontae Parker. I think you do see a significant tier drop off after Irv Smith Jr. goes compared to Hunter Renfrow in particular. So let's pass on Devontae Parker. We're still going to be able to get a wide receiver on the way back around to pick 148. And now that we take Irv Smith Jr. and pair him up with Zach Ertz, I don't think we have to take another tight end in this draft. Okay. But Devontae Parker, KJ Osborne, both off the board. Okay, let's scroll this back around. Yeah. So we go ahead. We take a wide receiver that we took in the last draft. We definitely reached on him, but I think that he's undervalued. In best ball drafts in particular, he's the only player that we have their jersey hanging up in this room right now. The only guy that has a jersey hanging up in our office, KJ Hamler. Love me some KJ Hamler. Let's go through. Let's take him 148. This is why we decided to pass on Devontae Parker a little earlier on. And we are about to pass 800 likes on the live stream. Thank you so much for everybody going down there showing that support. If you have not dropped a like in the stream, fix your life. Let's get this over 800. Let's get this live stream to 1,000 likes. Last year, we freaking crushed it. I mean, last night, we crushed it. Dan coming out says, the flock flying high. Been trying to join you on these palms, but got in like in the 5 books so far today. But got 5 in the books so far today. Feel like I'm living the same day over and over. You made draft season way more fun, brother. Thank you. No, thank you so much for coming out with us every single night, my man. I hope you are able to get into one of these drafts with us. And of course, not only thank you for the donation, more important than that, of course, thank you for anybody who's ever sent a donation to the channel. More important than that, just thank you for everybody who's willing to come out here and hang out with us every single night. Like I said about an hour ago, I know I sound like a broken record, but truly, guys, I sit around all day. Like, obviously, we have to do research. We have to make videos. But I sit around all day waiting for these live streams. Like, there's nothing I enjoy more than just going live, talking with y'all, hanging out with y'all. If I didn't enjoy this much, we wouldn't be able to do it every single day. And Juan coming out says, thoughts on my picks. Drafted at the 12. We got quarterback Dak Prescott, running back Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, wide receivers Stephon Diggs, Jerry Jeudy. We have Dalton Schultz at tight end. Okay, so we do have some correlation there with Dak Prescott and Dalton Schultz. Flex, Juju Smith-Schuster. We have the Cowboys defense. I don't care about defense or DST. I really like the team overall. In this format in particular, I agree that I think we need to be going after the elite level running backs. But if you drafted at the 12 spot, I'm assuming we went Mixon round 1, Barkley round 2, and then Diggs round 3, or maybe it was Mixon round 1, Diggs round 2, Barkley round 3 if your league mates were extremely worried about injuries. Love the team. Love the team, my friend. Okay. Now, Raymond says, a full PPR, keep Taylor and pick 1. Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Travis Kelce, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown. Okay, I think it's easily going to be between Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson here. If we start 2 flex spots, or 3 wide receivers and 1 flex, or it's a 14-team league where wide receiver depth is not going to be the easiest thing in the world to come by. We go Justin Jefferson. We don't even think about it. The issue is, I know a lot of people on this live stream right now are playing in very limited formats in those shallow redraft leagues where you only start 2 receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and a flex, where it's going to be so important to get those running backs in that format in particular. So if that's your format in particular, I think you have to go Dalvin. Cheeky says, you are welcome for my donation. Thank you for coming out. Literally for years. Thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. Derek says, Rodgers sucks. I don't have any of him. Okay. Let me go through. Let me look up my ownership percentage of Aaron Rodgers real quick. Let me look at this. So I'll say, I have not been afraid to take Aaron Rodgers when he's fallen past ADP. I have 6% Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to lie to you. Hopefully you can see this for the first time ever. Not going to lie to you, I thought I had a lot more Aaron Rodgers. But with Rodgers, he's going in a very reasonable price point at this point, at least in my opinion. And 1 second, let's think about who we're going to be picking here. We're done QB. We're done tight ends. Wide receivers not that appealing. Let's go ahead. Let's just take Jamal Williams. Let's take the Hard Knocks bump. I mean, obviously watching Hard Knocks, a guy that you want to root for. And he should get touches on a week-to-week basis and have contingency value if DeAndre Swift were to go down. But with Rodgers, why I don't mind taking him whenever he falls. Like in the last draft, we took Rodgers at what? Was it pick 120, 121? Yeah, we took him at like the 10-11 turn. Definitely got him well behind guys like Stafford, Carr, Cousins. I'm fine taking him because you can so easily get the other pass catchers for Green Bay later on. Like I think Robert Tonyan's ADP here, where you're getting him in the 15th round, is very manageable. I think Christian Watson's ADP is one of my favorite price points in drafts, period. So I've been fine taking Rodgers when he falls because I think it's easy to stack him up later on. Jacob says 5th overall non-PPR. Who's the pick? I think that in a non-PPR format, we have to go ahead. We just have to take running back. I think it's your favorite guy at a tier 2. I mean, usually I would never advocate for Derrick Henry at pick 5. We have Derrick Henry, I think, ranked as the 8th guy off the board. But in a non-PPR format, I mean, I'd imagine your league mates don't let you get him, but you go Derrick Henry, no brainer if he falls. Outside of that, you could be looking at someone like Joe Mixon. I think you do have to go running back in a non-PPR league in particular. Because in a non-PPR league, you're going to be looking at running backs as the optimal flex over wide receiver. Okay. So Will says Pomeranian is almost 88% filled already. Are you freaking kidding me? Look, is this true? Is this true? So I guess we only get to do Pomeranian drafts today. I was really hoping that we were going to be able to get to do Pomeranian drafts in the gym tomorrow. Oh my gosh, that ruins my plans. So I used to be able to just get in underdog drafts 24/7. Like at the gym, I would always be in an underdog draft literally the entire time I was there. When they had those puppies going, when we had Best Ball Mania. But since I maxed out Best Ball Mania, it's not like I can just hop into an underdog draft at any time. Like I'm not dying to hop into those private drafts just randomly at 9 a.m. as I would be with the Pomeranian, as I would be with the puppy. So I guess if you want to get one of these Pomeranian $3 drafts, $100,000 prize pool, today's the day to do it. It looks like it's going to close in 12 hours? 12 hours total it's going to be open. There are going to be 33,000 entries in it. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So now Deshaun Watson off the board, 180. Watson is someone I'm taking in this range, to be honest. But I'm not on this build where we have Lamar Jackson and where we have Kyler Murray. Adam coming out says, a 12-team half PPR, triple flex league. Triple flex league, this is where you go wide receiver round 1. This is where you go wide receiver round 2. This is where you go wide receiver round 3. Assuming it's a PPR format, you're going to be wanting to jam in as many of those receivers into your starting lineup, and you're going to get a chance to do it a ton in a 3-flex league. We got Dak, Saquon, Etienne, Justin Jefferson. Love Jefferson round 1 here in this format in particular. A.J. Brown, Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox, I don't like him, but at the same time, in a league where you have 3 flex spots, that's where we punt tight end. In my opinion, that is the place you want to be punting those tight ends. And then after that, we have Ayuk, Pickens, Madison, Mostert, Jamal Williams, Robert Tonyan. Trade for a running back or try to make it up in free agency. You're fine, my friend. You have Saquon Barkley. You have Travis Etienne. You were just fine at running back. I'd be willing to punt running back even more than this in a league where you have 3 flex spots. I mean, I think that if anything, we want to be picking up high upside wide receivers off the waiver wire. If you have someone like Christian Watson out there on waivers right now, go get him ASAP. Okay. Now we have Marvin Jones off the board, 185 here. I think this is going to be a 2-6-8-2 build. Yeah, almost certain it's going to be a 2-6-8-2 build. So the question is, at what price point do we decide to take a running back? We go Gibson and J.D. McKissick, so we are essentially making a bet that you don't have Brian Robinson with a massive role this upcoming season. So I don't think we can take Brian Robinson with this team. Maybe we go ahead and take A.J. Green. We have Kyler Murray. We're kind of going all in on this Arizona Cardinals offense. We are going to be able to overcome the lack of production we get from DeAndre Hopkins early on with an A.J. Green here. It'll still correlate well later on in the season. So let's go ahead. Let's take A.J. Green. Now, with Arizona, we have AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins at receiver. We have Zach Ertz at tight end, and we have Kyler Murray at QB. Really like this team. Really like this team. Okay. So let's move this down. Marlon Mack off the board, 192. Trying to think about who we want here. I know who we want. And we end up getting him. We're going to take David Bell as our 8th wide receiver. I think David Bell is this year's Amon-Ra St. Brown. We've been talking about this over and over again. David Bell at this point probably is my most drafted 18th round player. Now we're not taking him in the 18th. Obviously, we're taking him in the 17th here. But I love this team, guys. Let me flex on y'all real quick. We probably are just going to go fire up our next draft and queue up our last guy in the 18th. But I got to flex on y'all with this team. So at receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, Debo Samuel, T. Higgins, DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Gallup, KJ Hamler, AJ Green, David Bell. At running back, we have Cam Akers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick, and we're going to bring in one more guy. We have the 2 elite level quarterbacks in the best ball league with Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, and we have 2 respectable tight ends with Zach Ertz and Irv Smith Jr. Love this team. Love this team. Okay, so let's swing this back around. We're going to be joining Pomeranian. I'm not joining the second I click this button. Just to give you a heads up, I want to show everybody. This contest opened like literally, 12 hours ago? This opened like 12 hours ago, and there are almost 30,000 people entered in 12 hours. Absolutely crazy. Let's join now, and looks like we are in a filled room. Where are we getting? 108. 108 is a tougher spot to pick. Let's see what the teams in front of us decide to do. We got Scooter 22 out here in this draft. We have not had them out in a draft with us in quite some time. Thank you. And of course, if y'all want to get in our next draft, we do this every single night on the stream. Every single night. And also, if we hit that 24-hour live stream, if we get 90,000 subs on the channel, we will be drafting on Underdog Fantasy for that 24-hour live stream. So if you want to join a draft with us, if you want to go draft in the public lobby, draft with your friends, these are best ball leagues, so no time commitment at all during the season. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up for Underdog. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football rankings. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, which will help you even if you've already had your draft. With a $10 deposit, you are getting that. With legitimately just a $10 deposit. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. Okay. So now Floggavelli coming out says, do you have non-PPR shallow redraft rankings? Sadly, I do not this year. And to be completely honest with you, I did not realize how many people played in leagues where you only start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and a flex. I did not realize that was like the most common format. So next year, I'm going to be building out a site and I'm going to be very excited about it. But what we have plans where, trust me, we'll have rankings for your exact format next year. Like, I got a crap ton of plans for you next year. Don't worry at all. Casey says you should send 5 of these Pomeranian drafts at once. I probably will do that when we're off the live stream. I'll probably send like 10 at once. But on the live stream, it's just way too hard to manage and it's not entertaining at all. We have Saquon Barkley going 5. We're going to go ahead. We're going to get Stephon Diggs here at 8. Stephon Diggs is my most drafted round 1 player. It's just because, as we saw in the last draft, you get running backs in those middle rounds at ridiculous values on Underdog. Guys that historically would fall in the dead zone. I mean, I think at this point, we can say that since the dead zone is mainstream narrative, and maybe people have taken it a little bit too far, and I'm completely fine taking Josh Jacobs in round 7, getting that kind of value where we are going to have we're going to have a tough time if we try to find wide receivers later on. We're going to have a tough time. Yeah. Okay, crap. We are on the clock in that other draft. Let's make sure we go in there and get another running back. Okay, so you have a team taking the combination of Devontae Adams and CeeDee Lamb here at the turn. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that you are getting Devontae Adams falling to 12. Usually in the majority of these drafts on Underdog, Devontae Adams is off the board at 8, at 9. But it is what it is. I definitely want to be paying attention to what these teams on the turn are doing and what their draft tendencies may be. Fool's Gold says, what do you think of the Saquon Barkley pick at 5? Obviously, I don't like the Saquon Barkley pick at 5. I personally wouldn't do it. Maybe someone's trying to have a unique build in a tournament-style contest. So they could end up being a crazy drafter. They could end up knowing what they're doing. I think it's too early to tell. It's too early to tell. Let's go ahead. Let's get DeAndre Swift. We recently have moved DeAndre Swift up our rankings above Aaron Jones, even though I spent the entire offseason saying, oh, no, Aaron Jones is the guy you want, Aaron Jones. Based on what we are getting out of the coaching staff in Green Bay, I'm a little bit more concerned now of what we may have with the red zone role of A.J. Dillon in particular. So I think it's enough for me to pivot over and just decide to go DeAndre Swift at 17, even though I'm not jumping up and down about the value that we're getting here. And with Debo Samuel, I'm not taking Debo Samuel over this tier running backs, as we've already discussed. I think there are some serious red flags that you have with the overall regression we should assume gets hit in the rushing department, where he's not going to be scoring 8 rushing touchdowns again. Historically speaking, he has been one of the most injury-prone players of the position. And I think that Lance fits a little bit better with a deeper threat receiver like a Brandon Ayuk than he would with someone with the lowest average depth of target in the NFL with Debo Samuel. Yes, now we have Fournette off the board at 24. So outside of the Saquon Barkley pick, honestly, nothing looks too out of the ordinary that we really need to be talking about. And it looks like that Saquon Barkley team does decide to not necessarily go through and make another crazy selection. They go very bland with Javonte Williams at 20, that's what you see the majority of teams do at this point. So I think maybe they just go Saquon Barkley at 5 to get that unique combo in a tournament-style contest where it's very hard to go out there and go, oh my gosh, that's a stupid thing to do if they build out the roster the way they want it the rest of the way. Okay. They go DJ Moore, 29. DJ Moore would have been a player we were looking at, but dear God, are we going to get our guy? I think we're going to get our guy. Are we getting Kyle Pitts here? This team already has Andrews. They go Kyle Pitts. They double up on the elite level tight end. So let's instead grab Keenan Allen. I thought we were going to get Kyle Pitts, so that was going to be very exciting. So now we definitely need to monitor what we get later on at tight end, considering the fact you have that one team deciding to double up with Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts at this point. So I think this will push up tight ends to the rest of the draft board, but we also have to consider the fact that the teams there at the end of round 1 decided to let Kelsey fall to pick 14. Those teams did let Kyle Pitts fall to 31. It's not like a team went out of their way and took Kyle Pitts and Andrews at the 2-3 turn there. So maybe this overall draft room devalue side, I don't know. Let's continue to monitor this situation. It's definitely something worth keeping our eye on. But we have Mike Williams off the board directly after Keenan Allen. I think we've already talked enough about why I prefer Keenan Allen over Mike Williams this upcoming season, if we look historically speaking based on the target share that they have. Riley coming out says 90K isn't too far away. I'll be a mod soon. Yes, sir. And it looks like you changed your profile pic, but definitely. And oh, dear God. Do y'all have any recommendations? I don't know if anybody has stayed up for 24 hours recently. If you are just now coming into this live stream, if we hit 90,000 subscribers on the channel before the season starts, we are getting a 24-hour stream going. Just drafting teams nonstop. Would any of y'all have recommendations on how I do not go crazy in a 24-hour stream? How do I keep my voice? How do I not lose my mind? How do I stay awake? Okay. Now, Allen Robinson off the board, 39. Terry McLaurin goes, okay, I think we just take Hollywood Brown. Unless we wanted to take Keenan, where if we could take Keenan, we could get the stack up with Justin Herbert. But let's go Hollywood here. There's a chance we end up being able to get Kyler Murray on the way back around in the 6th. Obviously, we're not doing this if it's not an underdog draft, but on underdog, we have to start 3 wide receivers every week, and it's best ball. These guys are going to slide up, so let's just take this wide receiver in the middle of the run here. Elite Sloth says, I just traded Javonte Williams straight up for Najee Harris. Are you worried about the foot thing, or was it a good trade? Great trade. I would be worried about the foot thing if it was Najee Harris coming out going, oh my gosh, guys, I just hurt my Liz Frank I just suffered a Liz Frank injury yesterday. I don't know when I'm going to be playing it. No, the report, as I read it, said, oh yeah, I've been dealing with the Liz Frank injury for a couple of weeks. He's been playing in preseason games. Do we think if this was something we really needed to worry about with Najee Harris, he would be playing in preseason games? Personally, I don't think so. Okay. But let's see. We have some people contradicting themselves here. We got some people saying coffee, water, coffee. Dakota says stayed up for 48 hours in the military. Coffee. I'm not a coffee guy, but I will do like an energy drink. Juflu Poger says, don't start drinking coffee till hour 12. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if kickoff's like at 7:30 Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central, I may start the live stream Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Central, and go live until kickoff. I don't know how my sleep pattern would be, though. I'm going to, I guess, have to try to sleep as much as I can right before. Okay. Justin coming out, thank you, my friend, says, thoughts on this draft in a 12-team half PPR. We got Russell Wilson, Travis Etienne, David Montgomery, Stephon Diggs, Allen Robinson, Travis Kelce, Rashad Bateman, A.J. Dillon, Walker, James Robinson, Daryl Henderson, Julio Hamler, Rondell Moore, Gallup. Very deep roster here. Love having the elite level tight ends. A little weak at running back. We have a possible top 3 wide receiver. I would be interested in trying to move Allen Robinson, specifically with a build like this, for either one of a Courtland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, just to get that correlation in with Russell Wilson. I have Jerry Jeudy ranked wide receiver 18, Courtland Sutton ranked wide receiver 19. So personally, I would prefer Jerry Jeudy, and he's probably the easier guy to get as well. I think it would make sense if you're making that bet that Russell Wilson is going to be near the top of the NFL in overall passing volume. Yeah. So let's go through. Let's try to make that trade. And, okay, let's pull this back around. Sit here and think for a bit. I know no smart person's ever doing this on the planet, but we're going to take Cam Akers. Everybody's terrified of Cam Akers, obviously, missing some practices. With Cam Akers, we don't exactly know what the development of his rehab is, but last year he was a first-round pick in these drafts before the torn Achilles. Of course, there are massive red flags with Cam Akers, but it's a tournament-style contest. I think if we're drafting for upside, Cam Akers has a lot of it. And then let me point out something else here. We have one team with Andrews and Pitts, and then we have another team deciding to pair up both George Kittle and Darren Waller. So when we get the opportunity, we are going to have to go through. We are going to have to take tight ends. I think tight end value in general is going to be drastically skewed here. Sadly, we don't get Kyler Murray making it back to us at pick 65. In the last draft, we had Kyler Murray making it back to us at pick 69. Swing this back around. David Montgomery goes 62. So it looks like we're pretty much locked into a wide receiver here at 65. Let's see what the teams before us decide to do. These are the teams that went Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. Personally, 2 guys that I love taking at the 5-6 turn. Metcalf off the board, 63. I would have taken Metcalf if he would have fallen. And Elijah Moore gone. So let's take Darnell Mooney. I think with Darnell Mooney here, we can potentially go Justin Fields a little later on. Obviously, with Justin Fields, we are worried that the Chicago Bears offense is just going to be a train wreck overall. But at the same time, I think that there's an outside chance that Justin Fields does become this year's version of Jalen Hurts, where, yeah, it's a very bad overall passing offense. But at the end of the day, if Justin Fields can go out there, if he can give us the rushing volume we're looking for, we're still going to be probably fine at the end of the day. So let's take Darnell Mooney, target Justin Fields, because at this point, if we're looking at quarterbacks to stack up with some of these receiving options, we don't have too many guys. I mean, if we're looking at this right now, obviously Josh Allen already off the board for our Stephon Diggs stack. Justin Herbert already off the board with the Keenan Allen stack. Kyler Murray already off the board with the Hollywood Brown stack. And I really do want to be targeting these quarterbacks with rushing upside in particular. Okay. So let's move this down. We have Trey Lance off the board at 70. Riley coming out says oversleep as much as you can the day of. And then on top of it, caffeine. Plan on having some small brain stimulating side exercises. You got this. Yeah, I did reach out to a couple guys that run our fantasy basketball channel. I'm like, hey guys, y'all are going to have to hop in some of these drafts with us. You are going to have to carry the load for me for maybe the deep, dark hours, maybe when we're around midnight. Please help me out. So I think I will be bringing people on just so I don't have to talk constantly. As you can tell, like most people who stream fantasy football drafts like we do or make videos, I feel like we do talk very fast compared to the average person. Like if you go through and count the amount of words that people say probably on like a per hour basis or a per minute basis on a live stream, we probably get out significantly more words than anybody else. I'm not saying, oh, we're smart. No, we're probably dumber for doing so. Because I think we're eventually just going to completely destroy my vocal cords, especially if we do this for 24 hours. I'm going to have to talk a lot slower and just try to talk less in general. Okay, so let's bring this over. Russ, not necessarily a guy that we can go for at this point because if we're looking at Russell Wilson, it's significantly harder to stack Wilson now with no Tim Patrick in the player pool. Like if you take Wilson, I still like the value you're getting with KJ Hamler, but I feel like we can really only take him on builds where we decided to go through and take, okay, we're going to get Jacobs here, but where we decided to take Jerry Jeudy in the fourth or Cortland Sutton at the very end of the third, beginning of the fourth. We go Jacobs 80. This is the entire reason we decided to go with Stephon Diggs there round one. I mean, Stephon Diggs, my most drafted round one player, maybe outside of Jonathan Taylor. Let me look this up real quick. But we've been taking Stephon Diggs constantly. Like Stephon Diggs is a player that we used to take at the 106 in pretty much every single draft over Austin Eckler on underdog in particular, given the running back value we could find later on. Now with the Isaiah Spiller injury, we have moved Eckler up to 6, but yeah, we have Stephon Diggs in 14% of drafts. How much do we have Taylor in? Taylor, we have in 12%. So yeah, my most drafted player is Stephon Diggs, specifically so we can take advantage of running back value like this later on, where we can grab Cam Akers, we can grab Josh Jacobs. A team at 11 decides to go through, grab Dak Prescott. Very interesting to get a Dak Prescott selection here. I guess you do correlate that with the Tony Pollard pick at pick 83. Not too many teams are going to have naked Dak Prescott, no CeeDee Lamb. You can be looking at Gallup later on. I'll tell you, I'm probably going to snipe you on Gallup, though. I don't know if you're going to get Gallup when we're in the room. Okay. So this point, I'm not a massive Ramondre guy. Let's just go ahead. Let's take Chris Olave. I mean, I think a lot of these wide receivers are the same. I think with Chris Olave here, he is an elite level talent. What I'm concerned with is I'm just concerned about the overall number of options you have in New Orleans, where you have Michael Thomas. Not only do you have Michael Thomas, but on top of this, you have Jarvis Landry. You have Alvin Kamara, who we should expect has a significantly higher target share than just a regular running back. So there's some serious target competition. But at the same time, I think we're going to be fine going through taking Chris Olave, especially because I also do like the Jameis Winston value, if I'm going to be honest with you. And we're still trying to think about quarterbacks that we can take later on to make this build work. I think Winston could be one of those guys. Okay, so let's scroll this down. After we go, Chris Olave of Sky Moore, Tom Brady, and Hawkinson off the board. Let me know, what do y'all do with that pick? I mean, at running back, we already have Swift, Akers, and Josh Jacobs. Would y'all have taken Ramondre Stevenson? Would y'all have gone to Ramondre Stevenson, Chris Olave, or Sky Moore? And yes, everybody in the chat saying hit that like. Yeah, we are less than 100 likes away from 1,000 likes in the stream. If you have not dropped a like in the live stream yet, which we almost have more likes than live viewers, so I'd imagine 99.99% of y'all have already dropped a like, which I do really want to thank you for. But if you're one of those 0.01% of people that have not dropped a like, drop that like. Help us get to 1,000 likes in the stream. And Sam says, got offered David Montgomery in a future first for Jalen Waddle. Need running backs and have A.J. Brown, Metcalf, Evans, Waddle, Gabriel Davis. If this is a 12-team Superflex Dynasty format, yes. 12-team Superflex, where we can assume that that first-round pick is just inherently more value when you have guys like CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, not only in the player pool, but also pushing down other top-end talent like a Jackson Smith and Jigba possibly to you next year. Okay. So let me see what y'all are saying. We have 1 vote for Stevenson, a couple of votes for Olave, more votes for Stevenson. Okay. Looks like most people would have preferred Stevenson there. I was drafting Stevenson like 2 months ago at this point, where I feel like I haven't drafted Ramondre Stevenson in a month. I don't think I've drafted Ramondre Stevenson in a month, if I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, so Dawson Knox off the board 100. We do have to keep in mind, guys, remember that we had some crazy teams taking both Andrews and Kyle Pitts on the same build, and then another team taking both George Kittle and Darren Waller. Okay, there's one guy I want here really bad. And yes, we get him. We get Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks is one of my most drafted players. Yes, obviously he's had a bad preseason, bad training camp. I don't really care. I'm looking at the prospect profile out of Arkansas, looking at the amount of targets that are available in Tennessee this upcoming year. I think this team may have to be slightly more pass happy than we've seen in previous years. So let's go Treylon Burks. I think that he has the elite level ceiling we look for in weeks 15, 16, 17. Not going to be overthinking this at all. I love the Burks value. Cheeky Opson says 8 hours sleep before, no sugar, light on caffeine, lots of protein, lots of sunlight, and fresh air. Okay. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the advice, but I will say it is going to be difficult for us to get a lot of sunlight and difficult for us to get a lot of fresh air if we are in this little room live streaming. Oh. Sam says 10-team Superflex, have Herbert and Prescott. Yes, go, especially in a 10-team league where, I mean, hell, you don't have to worry about the team being, the pick being 11th or 12th. I think we go through and we make that deal. And I like Waddle as well. Now we have Carr and Stafford off the board here. Singletary's been someone that I just haven't drafted at all because in reality, like, what's the real ceiling that we have with the Devin Singletary? We assume that he has no role in the receiving game. That's going over to James Cook. Like, people were drafting Devin Singletary freaking before James Cook at one point in the offseason. Garrett Wilson off the board. I thought I was going to get a little cute with it and possibly take Garrett Wilson, but now that's not going to be in play. Do we just mix it up, take Singletary? I mean, we have. I don't think that really matters. We're going to mix it up. We're going to take Singletary. Guys, I don't like Devin Singletary. I'm going to pick him, and then I'll look up how many drafts we've taken Devin Singletary in total so far this offseason. I don't think he's that great of a pick because what's the real ceiling? As we already discussed, if James Cook's going to be the running back in the receiving game on a very pass-happy offense. Obviously, Devin Singletary had a very hot stretch down at the end of last season. Let's pull this down. Let me see how many drafts I've had with Devin Singletary because I feel like there was like maybe a 2-month stretch when Devin Singletary was being drafted before James Cook that I did not take him in a single league. Yeah, we have Singletary in 5% of these drafts. Honestly, which is more than I thought we had. I know y'all probably can't see it, but you can trust me on it. Okay, now Daryl Henderson off the board, 117. We have Tommy out here says, good old Devin single digits. Oh my gosh. Is that something that y'all have heard somewhere else? Or did you just come up with that? Is that like a common thing that people will say on Twitter, calling Devin Singletary Devin single digits? Because I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty. I'm gonna steal that. I'm probably gonna steal that. That's a good one, my friend. I like that. Okay. Now we have Joshua Palmer off the board, 121. Would y'all have gone somewhere else other than Singletary? Like, to be honest with you, if you look at my rankings, we probably have Melvin Gordon. We probably have Kenneth Walker higher. It's just tough. I mean, obviously, we want to diversify slightly, and he falls significantly past his ADP here. Cheeky Dobson says, okay, then have someone with a gong behind you. That's not a bad idea at all. Y'all may have to deal with me taking a 30-minute nap, like from the time period of like 2:30 in the morning to like 3 in the morning. When we do that 24-hour live stream, which I don't even know. I can't say it's guaranteed happening. Right now, we are 4,500 subscribers away. Just based on the pace that we have the channel, I think it happens. They'll may have to deal with the nap. Kobe Short says, do you still pick Noah Fant? Yeah, you may see me take Noah Fant in this draft. I think Noah Fant on a 3 tight end build is going to be completely fine. Okay. Let's swing this back around. So we do not get our guy. We do not get Michael Gallup in this draft as we usually do in every single one of these. Hines off the board, 125. John Dotson goes. Oh, dear God. Rashad White off the board. We're going to take Russell Gage, and I'll explain myself later. Now that Dotson's off the board, we're going to take Russell Gage. I'll explain myself later. Gus coming out says, 12-team half PPR league where we got Josh Allen at quarterback, Joe Mixon, A.J. Dillon at running back. We have the Allen Diggs stack. Godwin is... Okay, Kyle Pitts, this is a great team. Literally, you possibly have a top 5 running back with Joe Mixon, the quarterback 1 overall with Josh Allen, a top 5 receiver with Stephon Diggs. You have running back upside with A.J. Dillon, receiver upside with Godwin, and an elite level tight end with Kyle Pitts. I love this team. Looking on the bench, honestly, I love what you're doing on the bench as well, just taking shots at high upside players in particular. So there's not much I can even say regarding it. Okay. Gage goes 128. Let's swing this back around, and I think our plan may work out. It just may work out. Isaiah McKenzie, 134. But usually when we try to make a play, usually it crashes and burns. Maybe this is not one of those times, though. Can never be certain. But maybe we finally did something okay. This team has the double stack with Arizona, has Kyler, Rondell, and Zach Ertz. They go James Robinson. This team has the Philadelphia Eagles stack with Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert. I think it worked out for us. And we are 5 likes away on the live stream from 1,000 likes. So go down there, drop that like. And the guy that we wanted makes it back, Justin Fields. The reason we decided to go Russell Gage there is because Russell Gage and Justin Fields, I think they are going to be a unique combo. And specifically, if we were looking at the draft board, the teams that were picking after us had Matthew Stafford, a Derek Carr on one build, so they couldn't take another quarterback. The other teams had Josh Allen and Dak Prescott. They can't take another quarterback. And then the other 2 rosters, Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. So just looking at the quarterbacks of those other teams, we're saying, yeah, even though obviously Justin Fields had the highest ADP, it didn't look like we would get Fields on the way back around to stack up with Darnell Mooney just based off his ADP and ADP alone. If we looked at the context of the draft board, I thought we had a pretty decent shot to make it happen, and I think it really worked out. Okay. KDB says, Mason, can you rate my team at 10? Yeah, let's go through. Let's check out his team at 10. You have Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara at the 1-2 turn. With Kamara, I am somewhat concerned that we are not out of the woods regarding his potential suspension. Obviously, it's unlikely at this point, but I still think that it's a possibility that we are looking at a suspension with Alvin Kamara. Sutton, Allen Robinson at the 3-4 turn. Very rarely would I ever take Sutton, and I definitely never taken Sutton over Josh Allen. But if I were to take Sutton at the 3-4 turn, usually what I like doing is I like taking Jerry Jeudy on the way back around as well. If you think Jeudy and Allen Robinson are in the same tier, so you can set yourself up with Russell Wilson a little later on. Then after that, Kyler Murray, 58. I really like it. DK Metcalf, 63. Great value. Hunter Renfrow, 82. It is what it is. I don't like the Miles Sanders selection. Miles Sanders, you are getting him significantly after this pick in a lot of drafts at this point. Zach Ertz getting the double stack with Kyler makes a lot of sense. Same thing, Rondell Moore. Mecole Hardman, a player that I drafted a lot in this range, as well as James Robinson. So specifically, the only pick that I probably don't like is the Miles Sanders selection. And trust me, I used to draft Miles Sanders in this range, but I think based on what we're looking at with usage of Boston Scott potentially, it's going to be much harder to get away with it. Okay. So let's move this down at this point. We have KJ Osborne off the board, 147. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Christian Watson goes, yeah, so we have 7 wide receivers, so we are going to be fine if we don't have a wide receiver making it back to us that we like. Something we could go with one if we wanted. KJ Hamler off. Hamler would have been the guy. If Hamler would have fallen, we maybe would have taken an 8th wide receiver. At this point, I don't think we can. David Njoku goes pick 150. I think that locks in our own selection here. Yeah, Herbert off the board, so we have to go ahead. We have to take Hunter Henry. I mean, if we look at what these teams did earlier on in the draft, you had the same roster deciding to go Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts, and then you had the same team deciding to go George Kittle and Darren Waller. So because you have those two teams monopolizing the tight end position, with those two teams sharing the 4 elite level options, I feel like we kind of have to go through, just take Henry here. We're going to have to draft 3 tight ends regardless, though. Dan coming out says, I'm in the music industry, Mason, and have done 24-hour live streams. The key is bringing on guests and mixing it up. 20-minute breaks and show 2 of your advice videos. Okay, I like that idea. That is the best recommendation that we've gotten. Thank you, my friend, of course. And I like the idea of maybe having some like pre-recorded segments. Or like maybe if we're going to do like an Underdog ad read saying, hey, go sign up for Underdog. You can get our next draft with us. You can get our rankings, etc. Maybe we could go through and like pre-record that, and I can click a button and then you just get full screen me going, sign up for Underdog, use promo code. And maybe that would annoy y'all, but maybe that would give me a break just on talking for a minute or two. And then Dan says, repeat this for the first 12 hours, then go hard the last 12 hours. You'll still be fresh and won't be bored by hour 12. Okay. Thank you, my friend. Of course, I appreciate it. I truly do. Now, after this, let's swing it back around. We're probably going to look at tight end here. Obviously, we're going to reach on tight end a little bit, but I think it's something that we have to do based on the draft context. And we would have gone Winston if Winston would have made it back to us. But the issue is Winston doesn't. I'm not taking Matt Ryan here. I'm not taking Daniel Jones here. Like, why would I do that? Robert Tonyan off the board. Are you freaking kidding me? Let's go through and think this through. I think we have to reach on Tyler Higbee. Let's go ahead. Obviously, we are really reaching on Higbee, but at the same time, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if we are just going to consider the fact that all these tight ends are about in the same tier, and we kind of need to bring in these guys. Okay. And we are going to get in another draft after this one. We are not going to take too much time at all to get in this. So speaking of those Underdog ad reads, here you go. Make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Link in the live chat if you have not done so already. Go sign up for Underdog. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football rankings. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide, which will help you even if you've already had your draft with legitimately just a $10 deposit on Underdog. Take advantage of that. And we're going to be drafting again tonight on the live stream. We're going to be drafting tomorrow night, the night after that, the night after that, the night after that, the night after that, and possibly the day leading up to NFL kickoff. We'll get a 24-hour live stream firing up these drafts where you can come out and you can draft with us for as many hours as you can stay awake. You can draft with us on Underdog. You can find the link in the description. But a massive donation coming out from Pedro. Thank you, my man. Says, Mason, my guy, thoughts on my dynasty team in a 10-team PPR draft. Okay, 10-team league. We have some sky-high expectations here. We got Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Malik Willis. I'm assuming this is Superflex. I'm hoping it's Superflex. If this is Superflex, please do not feel the need to donate again, but let me know in the live chat right now before I say another word if this is Superflex or not. Because having Herbert, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson in a Dynasty Superflex league, GG, game over for the rest of the league. Game over for the rest of the league. Yeah. So let's swing this back around. And honestly, probably made the right call. Decided to go ahead and take Tyler Higbee as our second tight end there a little bit earlier than most people would like. But it is what it is. J.D. McKissic got the board 171. We do need to bring in a fifth running back. Brian Robinson goes 172. So I guess if we were to look for a running back in this range, it probably would be Tyrion Davis-Price. But to be honest with you, there are a couple other players that I'd probably be a little bit more excited about. Okay, Pedro says this is Superflex. So if this is Superflex, you have three arguable top 5 QBs Literally cheating. Literally cheating. And let me make my pick here. Noah Fant, third tight end. We have to take a third tight end. Last guy in this tier. And then after that, at running back, we have Javonte Williams, Breece Hall, 2 top 5 running backs. We have J.K. Dobbins as well. We have CeeDee Lamb, Okay, I don't even want to keep on talking about this. Obviously, you have the best team in the league by a mile. This is a juggernaut dynasty league. I have no idea. I don't know how you just got done with this dynasty league, and this hasn't been around for like 5 years for you to be able to create this. Great, great, great roster. I would imagine you're the favorite to win this year, the favorite to win the year after that, the favorite to win the year after that, and so on. But, oh my God. I don't even, can I even say, oh, go do this, it'll make the roster better? What can you do to make this roster better? Maybe trade for Kyle Pitts because you can afford it. You can trade Dobbins and Hawkinson for Pitts. We do it just because you have the firepower. Okay. I either hear a fire alarm going off or a truck backing up. Hopefully it's a truck backing up and we don't get booted from this anytime soon. But let's make our quarterback selection here. Okay, so I think we do have a couple different interesting options. We could go Mac Jones. We could go Jared Goff. We have DeAndre Swift correlating with Goff. We have Hunter Henry correlating with Mac Jones as our second quarterback here. I mean, I think Jarrett McKinnon's viable as well, but McKinnon goes right before us. So let's go ahead. Do we have anybody else? Let's just take Mac Jones. I mean, with Mac Jones, we'll use the tiebreaker. Oh, he has a higher ADP. Very rarely are you going to be able to get him in this range. And honestly, let me show the rest of this draft off for y'all. I think we're probably going to get one more quarterback here. And then after that, we are probably just going to hammer in a 5th RB. I don't think y'all are dying to see who we have at that point. So let's just fire up another one of these. Let me show y'all the entire draft board for anybody just now coming in here. And if you are just now coming into this draft, make sure you go down there, drop a like on the live stream. Past 1,000 likes in the stream, of course. I appreciate all of y'all out here. I'm going to be excited to fire up as many of these drafts as I possibly can. Okay, so let's move this down. Okay, so let's swing this back over. How many? Oh my gosh, 96% filled. 96% filled. Are you kidding me? Yeah, so the Pomeranian is about to fill. If you want to get in these $3 draft contests with a $100,000 prize pool, you better go do that right now. 0% rake. We pulled the 109 with the 109. I mean, we just drafted the 108. I really like what we had with Stephon Diggs falling to us. I think we're a lot less likely to get Stephon Diggs now at 9. But hear me roar coming out. Thank you, my friend. Says, rate this 12-team half PPR Dynasty Superflex team. Okay, so we have Lamar Jackson, Trey Lance. Okay, so we have, in my opinion, 2 top 10 quarterbacks from a dynasty perspective. We have Saquon Barkley, very strong running back. After that, not too much depth at the running back position. We got Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker, Alexander Madison. We just need to have one of those guys to break out. I mean, I guess we got Rashad White as well, and Tyrion Davis-Price. So you could have one of those guys breaking out to be your running back too. And then DJ Moore, Drake London, Treylon Burks, Michael Thomas, Rondo Moore, Pat Frymuth. And we have an extra 2021 and 2 first. I think that this is a team that's in a very interesting spot because I think you could see this team being a strong contender this upcoming season. But at the same time, if, say, we don't get Miles Sanders as a capable running back 2 to start the year, we don't get any of these rookie wide receivers breaking out immediately, we could be in a position where we're sitting at like a 1-4 start. And because you have the youth with this build as well, I think that this is a very strong team that we probably sit on our hands with. But in the back of our minds, we have to just be prepared to pivot to a rebuild if things don't go our way early. Okay. And then after this draft, if the Pomeranian fills, I'll send out a private draft link for everybody out here. But we got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase off the board at 3 and 4. So, I mean, not too much to discuss. This is literally almost right in line with ADP. The only thing that is different is the fact that, here, 1 second, sorry. Just queuing up our last running back in that other draft. The only thing off ADP is you got CMC going 1, but in reality, this happens all the time now in these drafts. Like, the ADP is broken down in a way where Jonathan Taylor is an ADP of like 1.5. Christian McCaffrey is an ADP of like 1.8. So it's really, I don't want to say a coin flip who you end up getting, but it's close to it. Let's go ahead. Let's take Derrick Henry at 9. I mean, usually we like going Stephon Diggs in round 1, knowing the running back value that we're going to get later on. Usually I'm not a big Derrick Henry round 1 guy in this range. But when we have Stephon Diggs off the board, I'm not going to be that excited about going through and pushing up Devontae Adams in the situation that he's in Las Vegas. But Adams goes directly after we decide to take Derrick Henry here at pick 9. Then Najee Harris off the board. Caden says he is doing so many drafts at a time. Yeah, I mean, I have done that before. Like, whenever Puppy 3 closed, I think I was in like 10 drafts at once. But it's just very difficult for me to do that on the live stream. Now we have Alvin Kamara at pick 12. This is the first time I've seen first round Alvin Kamara, I think, all offseason. I think this is the first time I've seen a first round Kamara all offseason. Very, very interesting here. I mean, we were getting him in the 4th round a couple months ago. The 4th round of drafts. Okay, Saquon Barkley goes. So great news. We are going to get either Kelsey or Lamb. I don't think we want to go with another running back here when we start Derrick Henry on underdog in particular. So we're going to get Kelsey and Derrick Henry. I think if you look at this start through the first 2 rounds, not many teams are going to have this combo. Not many teams are going to have this combo. Obviously, we're looking for wide receiver help on the way back around with our 3rd, 4th, and even probably 5th round selections. But I think we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot in general. I'm very excited about this team through the first 2. Okay, so after we go ahead and take Travis Kelce, you have DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, and Debo Samuel off the board. And of course, if y'all want to get in our next draft's probably not going to be the Pomeranian. If you want to get in a Pomeranian draft, you're going to have to do that right now and not wait for us because it looks like it's about to fill. Go sign up for Underdog. When you sign up for Underdog, you get our 2022 rankings, our draft guide with literally a $10 deposit. They match your deposit dollar for dollar up to $100, so it's free for you to try out. And we are getting a private draft going on Underdog Fantasy for just people in this live stream right after this, assuming that the Pomeranian fills, which, I mean, hell, is 97% filled when we enter this, and people are entering like 5 at a time. So I'd imagine it's definitely filled within the next 30 minutes. And we have Tyreek going 20. You have seen Tyreek Hill sliding up draft boards based off a preseason game. Like, are we being serious here? Or are we sliding up Tyreek Hill based off a preseason game? I mean, that's... I don't know. My opinion, probably not something we should be doing. But that's just my opinion. Okay. And now we have AJ Brown, Michael Pittman off the board, 24 and 25. And maybe I'm just a little bit salty seeing these wide receivers go early because, of course, when we are sitting currently with the combo of Derrick Henry and Travis Kelce through the first 2 rounds, what we are really hoping for wide receivers to make it back. And Mark Andrews fell to pick 27 here. Mark Andrews falls to pick 27. Do y'all remember back when these contests first opened, you had Mark Andrews going at the 1-2 turn? Now you're getting him in the 3rd round. Absolutely ridiculous. Going behind Kyle Pitts. Y'all know I've been a big Kyle Pitts fan this offseason. Like, we have been advocating to draft Kyle Pitts in the 3rd round. But to take him over Andrews, that seems pretty damn aggressive. That seems very aggressive. And now James Conner goes 29. Great. We're not interested in James Conner. We want one of these receivers. But if Leonard Fournette falls, we may have to go Fournette. Oh, dear God. If Fournette falls, we may have to go Fournette. Yeah, Allen off the board. Let's see what the team in front of us does. Jonas, bro, this team has Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift so far at the running back positions. I don't know if they want to bring in a 3rd running back. But, Dira, are they giving us Leonard Fournette here? I think it would be scary and exciting at the same time. Scary and exciting at the same time. I don't think really any teams are going to have the combination of Henry, Travis Kelce, and Leonard Fournette. They go Fournette, though. At this point, we're going to go DJ Moore. Obviously, more people are excited about Mike Williams. But looking at the target share that you've had from DJ Moore in Carolina over the past few seasons at such a young age, I like the idea of betting on DJ Moore, especially with the quarterback upgrade that he should be seeing with Baker Mayfield. Not a massive Baker guy. Like, literally, we have a wall of University of Texas stuff right here, like hook 'em horns. OU sucks. But still, Baker Mayfield is a much better quarterback than what you've had in Carolina over the past few seasons. I do think the bump up in efficiency should help DJ Moore's overall touchdown upside. Okay. So we have Sutton off the board, 35. And real quick, we are about to pass 1,100 likes on the live stream. I mean, I don't even want to tell anybody to go down there, drop a like on the stream, because it looks like 99.999% of y'all have already done it. So all I got to say is thank you. I truly do appreciate everybody going down there, dropping that like, supporting the channel. And yeah, I'm going to be excited to continue to fire up some of these drafts after this. Okay. So we have Hollywood Brown going pick 37. Swing this back around. There's one guy y'all know I like. Let's see if we get him. Fantasy GOAT Landon goes Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Williams through the first 3 rounds here. There's one guy that I really like. Let's see if we get him. If not, we're probably going to have to reach on someone. They go Travis Etienne, so we get our guy. We get Jalen Waddle here, pick 40. I really like this team. I really like this team. I don't think many teams are going to have this combination of guys through the first 4 rounds. I don't think that we're completely dead at wide receiver. I mean, I think that DJ Moore and Jalen Waddle are elite level talents, even if they aren't in the best situations in the world. I'm excited about this. Okay. So now after we take Jalen Waddle, you have Jerry Jeudy off the board, pick 41. I wonder if that team at pick 8 knew if they were going to get Leonard Fournette falling to them this late, if they would have decided to go ahead and take Debo Samuel over DeAndre Swift. Obviously, you never know that you're going to get Leonard Fournette making it to you at pick 32. But still, I think it's definitely interesting. Sammy says, you should join the last Pomeranian. Oh, guys, I don't know. I mean, we've done multiple drafts at once on the live stream before, and I have a lot of fun with it. Like, my brain's broken, so, I mean, it is pretty exciting for me. But it's much more difficult for people to follow along on the live stream in general. But Lamar Jackson goes off the board 46. We have another team deciding to go very running back heavy here with a combination of Cam Akers, Nick Chubb, and Javonte Williams over the past 3 rounds. Interesting to see Cam Akers go pick 45. This is the earliest I think we've seen Akers go pretty much all night. Like, you have seen Cam Akers consistently going instead. Like, we've been taking him in the middle of the 5th round, which I know people are probably going to be making fun of us for taking Akers in the middle of the 5th. I don't care. I mean, here with Akers, I think in the middle of the 5th, my lizard brain, it's like we just get flashing lights and we have to take him. But pick 45, ahead of someone like Lamar Jackson, does seem pretty tough with that build in particular. Johnny says, Chubb is a beautiful price this year. Yeah, I mean, we've been arguing against Chubb for a very long time, like over the past 2 seasons now. But I don't think this is the year to be arguing against Nick Chubb. I think arguably it's a better situation if you assume that Deshaun Watson comes in and elevates the overall offense over the last 6 weeks during that fantasy football playoff stretch in particular. Hell, he's always had to play next to Kareem Hunt, but instead of having to draft him in the 1st round this year, you're getting him at pick 28 consistently. I think that this is a fair price point for Nick Chubb. I don't think this is the year to be fading Chubb. Like we were fading over the past few seasons. Okay. So we have Rashad Bateman off the board here, 51. I think we have a very balanced start where I'm not necessarily dying to see one position go off the board here. I mean, there are a couple players that y'all know are my guys that I am hoping that we end up getting. Ulad says, already had my draft, but I'm still checking in on that 90,000 subscriber mark. Yeah, no, I think that right now we are about 4,500 subscribers away from 90,000. We're about 4,500 away, so I think we get there. I can't guarantee it, but it looks like it's likely. Okay, yeah, no, we have George Kittle going off the board here, pick 54. Obviously, Kittle's going to, and Waller goes. Okay, good. I mean, I like the value of those 2 individual players, but it's a lot more appealing, in my opinion, to go ahead and take J.K. Dobbins here with the overall situation that he is in Baltimore instead of taking in the tight end when we already have Travis Kelce with this build. When we already have Kelce. Okay. Now we have DK Metcalf off the board, 58. Jalen Hurts goes 59. We are hoping that we get an elite level quarterback on the way back around. I mean, even if we don't have Hollywood, personally, I'd still like taking Kyler Murray. Y'all know I'm a fan of Kyler Murray in this range. Hugh says Pomeranian is done. You're kidding me. It launched what? Legitimately 9.5 hours ago, 10 hours ago. The Pomeranian launched 10 hours ago, and 33,000 people have already entered. Oh, that is disappointing. I wanted to get in as many of those as we possibly could. But A.J. Dillon, Darnell Mooney off the board here, 61 and 62. Let's swing this back around. Fantasy Goat Landon decides to go David Montgomery. So we're going to get our guy. We're going to get Michael Thomas here as our third wide receiver. I think with Thomas, we do have an interesting spot where we can look at Jameis Winston a little later on. We could even look at taking like a Chris Olave at the pick 88 in the 8th round, and then getting Winston and getting that double stack there with the New Orleans Saints offense. I really like the upside plays that you have with Thomas, specifically in a tournament style contest as well, where we are trying to chase the top 1 percentile outcome. Now, True Play coming out says, Mason, thoughts on a 10-team PPR redraft league where we got Justin Herbert, Aaron Jones, Chase Edmonds, Cooper Kupp, Mike Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kyle Pitts, Damian Pierce, A.J. Dillon, Ramondre Stevenson, and Thomas. I'm assuming, is this Logan Thomas? Make any moves? I would say first thing is, we got to pick up a different tight end off the waiver wire. Like, I like Logan Thomas in like the 18th round of a best ball draft for the ceiling that he may have later on in the year. But specifically, Logan Thomas in like a casual redraft league, you can't be rostering Logan Thomas at this point because we don't necessarily assume that you are going to be able to play him week 1, play him week 2. We don't know the availability of Logan Thomas and how many snaps he's going to be playing, how many routes he's going to be running. So definitely go through, drop him, pick up a different tight end. There should be a capable tight end off the waiver wire. Go get someone like Robert Tonyan. Oh, no, I'm sorry. You have Kyle Pitts. I'd still probably drop Logan Thomas. If we were going to drop Logan Thomas at that point, we're going to be looking instead of picking up a different tight end, looking at a high upside running back that is possibly an injury away from seeing opportunity, especially if Chase Edmonds is currently our running back too. I mean, I think we have a lot of upside at running back, but I can't hurt to take another swing at the pinata here. The receiver, obviously, we have the elite level guy in Cooper Kupp. We have the stack there with Justin Herbert, Mike Williams. Really like the team. I like the team a lot more now that we see that you have Kyle Pitts than I did previously. I still don't think we roster Logan Thomas with this build in particular. I think we would drop him in favor of just another running back. Okay. Ho-Ho says, I use code FLOCK but didn't get the draft guide. Okay, so if you use code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, they match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. The second that you deposit. So if you deposited $10, you'll see that you have $20 in your account immediately when you use promo code FLOCK. But to get our draft guide, to get our rankings, it is going to take a little bit of time, where it is going to take, I believe, should be about 1 to 3 hours. About 1 to 3 hours to see that draft guide hitting your inbox. It will go to either your spam, your main inbox, but I had someone today tell me they found it in their promotions. So please just wait a couple hours to check your email. If you don't see it there, check your spam. Okay. So I have Tony Pollard, Alan Lazard off the board. Neither player I'm that excited about drafting. I'm completely fine seeing them go. Okay, so let's swing this back around. We're up in 3 picks. The teams in front of us, I mean, this team on the clock already has 2 elite level quarterbacks. They go Jacobs. Let's see. I think we're going to be in a good spot. We're going to be in a good spot to bring in a wide receiver value. If we don't get a wide receiver value, it means it's because we decided to go ahead and we decided to draft Joe Burrow. And then with the Burrow selection, obviously doesn't make that much sense when you don't have T. Higgins, when you don't have Jamar Chase, but we could still go ahead. We could still get Tyler Boyd later on. If we don't get Tyler Boyd, we could indeed just get Hayden Hurst later on. Okay, Thielen is off. Let's draft Amari. There's an outside chance Burrow makes it back to us. I think Amari Cooper, from a tournament-style contest in particular, has that elite level ceiling for weeks 15, 16, 17 that we're searching for when Deshaun Watson comes back in. In a regular shallow redraft format, I'm not going to be that excited to go through and draft Amari Cooper because obviously through the first 11 weeks, should be a very low volume passing offense in Cleveland with Jacoby Brissett there. But I think in this kind of format, it's going to be a fine spot to go ahead and draft him. Okay. Now we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Burrow off the board here at the end of the 7th. Let's move this down. Someone was wanting us to reach on Chris Olave. I don't know if we can reach on Olave there. Dallas Goedert's off the board. I mean, we could still get Chris Olave on the way back around if we want to get that double stack with the New Orleans Saints pass catchers. But Olave goes 85, so never mind. I lied to you. We are not going to be able to get Chris Olave on the way back around. Let's see. What are we wanting to do, though? Once Clyde layers off, I do think we have a teardrop at running back where I'm not that excited about grabbing a Ramondre Stevenson. I think we either take the elite level quarterback with Russell Wilson or we go another wide receiver with Kadarius Toney. I think we're taking Wilson or Toney. If we get Russell Wilson, we're going to be looking at KJ Hamler in the 13th round. We're going to be looking potentially at Albert O in the 12th, or maybe we just pass on both guys in the 12th and take whoever makes it back to us in the 13th. Fantasy Goat Landon, what does he decide to do? He goes Kadarius Toney, so we are going to have an easy pick of Russell Wilson here. Strong value with Russell Wilson. I mean, if we're comparing Wilson and Amari Cooper to the combo of like Joe Burrow and Sky Moore, a different wide receiver that we would have taken here over Russell Wilson, I definitely am going to prefer the Amari Cooper and Russell Wilson turn build here. So far, running back, we have the combo of Derrick Henry, J.K. Dobbins. We have the elite level tight end in Travis Kelce. At wide receiver, we have DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, Michael Thomas, and Amari Cooper. I really like this team. I don't think it's as strong as the team we had in the last draft. The last draft was just absolutely ridiculous when we had Kyler Murray making it to us at the end of the 6th round. We were able to pair him up with DeAndre Hopkins in the beginning to the middle of the 7th. But still, very strong team that I'm going to be excited about. And since Pomeranian's filled, after this draft, we are probably going to go ahead. I'm going to get a private draft going, and I will send that link out in the live chat for everybody here. But let's see. Brady goes 92. What are we hoping for? I feel like we have such a balanced roster where obviously we still need to bring in another quarterback. We still need to bring in another tight end. That it's not like we're coming out here and really rooting for anything at this point. Anything in particular. Easton asking how much is the private draft going to be. The private draft's going to be really cheap. Just so y'all can get in. We can have some fun. I think maybe we can get in some higher stakes drafts as the season gears closer. But we have Robert Woods off the board here, 94. Interesting to see Robert Woods still going before Treylon Burks, despite Burks having the pretty strong end to the preseason. I figured with the Treylon Burks touchdown reception, you would have some people coming out and getting very excited about Treylon Burks and pushing him up a little bit. But I mean, we got Treylon Burks at pick 104 in the last draft. I wouldn't be surprised if Burks fell here for us again. So we got James Cook, 97. James Cook is a running back that I would have been excited about getting on the way back around at 105. I mean, with James Cook, you're just looking at a pass catcher that's going to be a part of the most prolific passing offense in the NFL, or at least one of the most prolific passing offenses in the NFL. He would have upside for more if he could get the red zone role, which not necessarily super likely that he does come away with that red zone role in Buffalo, but it's at least in the range of outcomes, which I do think we have to be considering. Okay. And how long have we been live here? We've been live for almost 3 hours. We were live for almost 4 hours last night. So if you have not done so already, please go down there, drop a like in the live stream. I genuinely appreciate it. Looking at how many likes we have on the stream, I'm imagining that 99.9999% of y'all have already dropped a like. So thank you. I appreciate you. But I mean, come on. Support the stream. Let's fire up another draft for this one. We'll try to get this as another 4-hour live stream tonight. But we have Dak Prescott off the board at pick 100 here. Let's scroll this back around. 105, I think we have some appealing values making it back to us. I mean, Kareem Hunt off the board. Rashad Penny, someone that I haven't loved drafting in these tournament-style contests because I do think Kenneth Walker has that larger role as the season goes on. Devin Singletary off the board. But if Rashad Penny were to fall an entire round past ADP for us here, we probably go ahead and take Rashad Penny. Maybe just from a locker room standpoint, having Russell Wilson and Rashad Penny on the same team wouldn't be a bad idea. Maybe it would just boost the overall team chemistry, boost the team morale. Obviously, they have the history together. We get Treylon Burks off the board, so Rashad Penny is someone that I have not drafted very often at all. But, I mean, if we're looking at the Kenneth Walker injury, I think it does open the door for Rashad Penny. We could even go Walker on the way back around. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. He falls 12 picks when we're going to be drafting 700 of these teams on Underdog Fantasy. When we get a value fall into this to us like this, we kind of just have to take it. Okay. Brian says, do you have any teams that you have done that really stand out to you? Yes, but the issue is when you've done this many, good luck finding them. Good luck finding them. Like what I should have done is I should have, after we had a good draft, every single good draft we have, which is probably 1 out of 20 drafts. Like we probably have 5% of our drafts end up being good. We should like label it good draft. Good draft. Did not mess this one up. That way we can go through, and that way when I'm bored, I can pull up my phone and I can find the good drafts immediately and go, oh, God. That worked out for us. That worked out for us. Okay, so we have Tyler Lockett off the board here, 108. Let me know, would you have gone Tyler Lockett over Rashad Penny? Would you have gone Lockett over Penny? You have Julio Jones off the board, 109 here. Stafford has just been falling a crap ton compared to where he was going earlier in the offseason. Romeo Dubs. Okay, now that we have some of these wide receivers going, I think that we honestly may end up having a reach on receiver here. Get our 5th guy. There's still someone that I really like on the board, even though he's in a very bad situation. I do want to get more and more of him where we can. Derek Carr goes off. Yeah. We're reaching, but looking at these other teams doing the same thing, I think that at the end of the day, we're going to have a running back value that we like making him back around. So let's go ahead. Let's take Garrett Wilson here. Garrett Wilson stuck in a very bad situation with the New York Jets, of course, but still an elite level talent coming out of Ohio State. Checks every single box. And I repeat, every single box that you're looking for from the wide receiver position. So let's take him. Let's hope that we end up getting a running back that we like on the way back around in the 11th. But based on how this draft's gone so far, I think we are. But Jay's Shaq coming out. Thank you. Says a 12-team PPR format. We got Jameis Winston quarterback, running back Aaron Jones and Javonte Williams. Wide receiver Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle. The flex, we got Juju, Darren Waller at tight end. Down there in the bench, Adam Thielen, Chris Godwin, Hunter Renfrow, Elijah Moore. What can I do to improve, or who could I buy? Okay, in this league in particular, I understand in years past you have been able to get away with going with a late round quarterback approach and just streaming the position. But this, in my opinion, is the worst kind of format to be streaming QB with or playing someone like Jameis Winston. In a league where you only start 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and a flex, quarterbacks are going to be making up such a high percentage of your starting lineup output every single week compared to a league where you would have, say, 3 flex spots, where if you don't have one of those players that has access to an elite level ceiling, you really are behind the 8 ball. What I would look to do is I would look to try to move off one of these wide receivers that they are extremely talented, but like if we can move off like a Chris Godwin and get a quarterback that has some rushing upside, maybe move off Chris Godwin and get someone like Jalen Hurts. In this format, I think that would make a lot of sense. I would really like that in this format. Okay. Now, after we take Garrett Wilson, maybe we read this room wrong because you only have Jalen Tolbert and Chase Claypool going off the board as well. But it is funny seeing that, obviously. I think, what do y'all think the biggest storyline so far has been through training camp and preseason? This is definitely something I need your input on. I need your input. Let me know what you're thinking on this. What has been the biggest storyline, the biggest change in your mentality, or just the way you're viewing a situation this training camp / preseason over the past month? Is it the wide receiver situation in Pittsburgh where obviously George Pickens now looking like the locked in wide receiver 2-year, Chase Claypool, in my opinion, probably hasn't fallen enough? Because if we're looking at Chase Claypool in particular, this is about where he was going before the George Pickens hype. Like, we've had all this George Pickens hype. Chase Claypool's fallen some. He used to go at the end of the 9th, at the beginning of the 10th, and now he goes here at the end of the 10th round, and despite the fact that George Pickens has risen like 7 rounds. I don't know. Loop says Damien Harris is getting catches. No, that's not happening. That is not happening. Jackson says Damian Pierce. Robinson Shot or Damian Pierce, yeah. Damian Pierce. Y'all are right. It's not George Pickens, it's Damian Pierce. You're right. The biggest storyline of the past month has been Damian Pierce, not George Pickens. I don't know why I was saying anything else. Let's swing this back around. There are a couple players I really like. I don't want to say their names. Gallup goes off the board 124. Someone that if he stays at this ADP, I want to go out of my way. I want to make him our most drafted player in fantasy. If he stays at this price point, we want to make him our most drafted guy in fantasy. Now, after this, we have a couple different directions we can go with. We got Isaiah McKenzie off the board, 127. Do we just take... Trying to think through this. Let's go ahead. Let's take Cole Kmet. We're getting him 11 picks past his ADP. I think we are looking at a very flat tier of guys. Like, I think we kind of want to bring in a fourth running back with this build, but at the end of the day, is there a real difference between Rachaad White, Kenneth Gainwell, Alexander Madison, James Robinson, Michael Carter? I think all these running backs are about the same, and I thought there was a chance we had Justin Fields making it back to us. I thought we were going to be able to potentially go Cole Kmet and then get Justin Fields to pick 136. Obviously, that doesn't work out. We were trying to get greedy with it. Crap. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if y'all think we should have just gone ahead and taken Kenneth Gainwell there at 129 instead. KJ Osborne goes 133. So these wide receivers continuing to slide up boards. David Njoku goes 134. Very interesting to see Njoku off at that price point. I'm not taking Tua here. Obviously, Tua would correlate with Jalen Waddle, but in reality, I think Tua Tagovailoa compared to a lot of these other quarterbacks later on it's going to be comparable. Let's take Rachaad White here. I mean, with Rachaad White, he does fall a considerable amount past his ADP. Should have a receiving down role on a week-to-week basis in Tampa, where and maybe occasionally, just occasionally, he could slide into our starting lineup. And if we were looking at an injury to Leonard Fournette, obviously you would have a significantly higher ceiling for Rachaad White. You have the contingency value for White if something were to occur. Let's scroll this down. You have McCole Hardman going directly after 137. Michael Carter goes 138. Isaiah Pacheco as well. But we have a grid coming out. Thank you, my friend. Says 10-team PPR, 1 quarterback league. We got Joe Burrow and Trey Lance. Okay, so maybe we can use a Burrow as some trade bait here. I got Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman, Devonta Smith, John Dotson, George Pickens. Running back, we're very strong with Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb. We have Kyle Pitts at tight end. You know what I'm going to look to do here? I'm definitely going to look to try to just package up to try to bring in an elite level receiver. Like if we could say trade Joe Burrow, Damian Pierce, and Rashad Bateman and bring in a wide receiver that you are very excited about as a top 10 option. Like if we could bring in Debo Samuel to correlate with Trey Lance with a package like that, I think you have so much bench depth here where it's going to be very hard for you to make moves on the waiver wire early this season. Or I think it would make a lot of sense for you to just go through, make a play like that, and then have a better idea of what you can do with the waiver wire at the beginning of the year. But Jay Shack coming out says, trade for Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. I have Aaron Jones and Javonte Williams. I would say Russell Wilson definitely has a higher ceiling than Aaron Rodgers this upcoming season, given what we should assume with the pace of play being extremely slow in Green Bay, combined with the fact that, obviously, you just have significantly better weapons in Denver for Russ. Okay. So now we have Nico Collins off the board here, 155. Let's swing this back around. And we just passed 1,200 likes in the live stream. Thank you so much for everybody going down there and dropping a like on the stream. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to like the 1,600 likes that we had on last night's stream, but regardless, thank you guys. I appreciate you. And I don't even want to say if you haven't dropped a like, drop one because I think 99.999% of people have already dropped that like. So thank you so much. Okay, so we have Khalil Herbert going here, pick 147. Not necessarily a player that I found myself drafting a ton of, if I'm going to be completely honest. Jamal Williams goes 148. Irv Smith Jr. is great value. Like, if Irv Smith Jr. were to fall to us, we definitely can't take him, but I'm going to be kicking myself for our decision to take Cole Kmet a little earlier on. I'd imagine that Irv Smith Jr. goes in the upcoming picks, though. Matt Ryan off the board, 149. And crap, no. No. KJ Hamler goes. Our target here in the 13th round. Oh, that sucks, ladies and gentlemen. That sucks so much. We were really looking for KJ Hamler at this pick. Christian Watson off the board as well. Christian Watson is someone that we really like. I think we just go ahead. Do we just take Jacoby Myers at this point? It's not nearly as exciting. I would have preferred KJ Hamler to pair up with Russell Wilson. I mean, I love the value of KJ Hamler in a vacuum. I love Christian Kirk just as a value with the overall upside play that you could have in a tournament style contest like this in particular in that Green Bay Packers offense. Jacoby Myers should be a wide receiver getting a decent amount of volume. Like, he's a fine selection, 143, when we can't take another tight end. And I don't think any of these running backs really stand out to us. So let's take Jacoby Myers and see what we get a little later on. But, oh, that is brutal getting sniped. Brutal getting sniped like that. Okay, Wan'Dale Robinson goes 155. Game Cubing asking if we're going to get another draft going. Yes, we are going to fire up another draft after this one. Don't you worry. We're going to try to make this a 4-hour live stream tonight. We're going to try to make this a 4-hour stream tonight. Now we have Wan'Dale Robinson off the board at 155. Let's swing this back around. Jameis Winston off the board, 156. Winston would have been a quarterback we would have taken here at 160, considering the fact that we have Michael Thomas. We would have brought in Jameis Winston, and we would have only had to draft a total of 2 quarterbacks. At this point, I think that's not going to be a possibility for us to only draft 2 QBs. We can't look at tight end, so these are going to be the only positions that are available to us at this point. Obviously, Robbie Anderson falling down with the news of Laviska Shenault coming over, but if I'm going to be honest with you, I think Laviska Shenault does not eat too much into the Robbie Anderson role in particular. I think Laviska Chenault's more there because Terrace Marshall was just not getting the job done. We could go Zamir White and we'd be done drafting running backs. And in reality, I probably wouldn't. You know what? F it. We're going to reach. I don't care. I think that there's a wide receiver here that's a very strong value. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Jamison Williams here. I mean, with Jamison Williams, I think from a tournament-style contest standpoint, weeks 15, 16, 17, not many players are going to have the same level ceiling that you're going to find with the Jamison Williams, where we can get those spike weeks exactly when we need them. And you're getting them at a very reasonable price point here. So let's take Jamison Williams 160. We're probably going to draft 3 quarterbacks with this build, 5 running backs. I'm going to be fine with it. And now, Big Dog coming out. Thank you, my friend, says, in a keeper league, I'm keeping Kupp in the 3rd, Mark Andrews in the 7th. Should I try to get a beginning, middle, or end of this draft spot based on that? I want a stud running back, but also a late pick could be better. I would say, like, if you pick at the very end, like if you pick at the 112, then those keeper costs are going to be significantly less. Like, you're going to be looking at what I'm sorry. Are we wrong on this? No, we are correct on this. You're going to be giving up like the 312. You're going to be giving up the 712 compared to the 301 and the 701. So I would agree. I think that you want to go as late as possible here, especially considering the fact that this is a keeper league. So we can assume that there are no stud level players at the very top end of that draft. You're not going to have a chance at Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey, regardless of what happens. But after we take Jamison Williams here, you have some tight ends going in the middle of this round, which in my opinion, strong values, but we definitely need to get them off the board. And we have Zay Jones going 166. Obviously, Zay Jones needs to be a player that's rising with the departure of Laviska Shenault, because this does speak to what the coaching staff thinks of Zay Jones, where they are very confident they're going to be willing to just get rid of Laviska Shenault like that, no issue. So it's an interesting spot to be in. I guess you can take Zay Jones. Like, what's the real difference between Zay Jones and Marvin Jones here? What is the real difference? And how many players in the NFL are named Jones? Let me look this up. Some in-depth analysis here. Jones. Okay, so we have Aaron Jones, Julio Jones, Daniel Jones, Marvin Jones, Mac Jones, Zay Jones, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Vilas Jones, Ronald Jones, Ricky Seals-Jones, Tony Jones, Tim Jones, and nobody really after that. But is there, I guess Williams could be a more common last name? This is what you come to this live stream for, ladies and gentlemen. In-depth research. Williams, we got Javonte, Mike, Jamal, Jameson, Daryl, Kyron, Damien, Antonio, Seth, Jonathan, Preston. Preston Williams. I've not heard that name in quite some time. Is there anything else? I think that should be it. Moore is probably a common name. We got DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Sky Moore, Rondell Moore. I guess only with wide receivers. Only with wide receivers. Okay. There's someone telling us to try Smith. Let's see what Smith is. You got Juju, Devonta, Irv Smith, Jonnu Smith-Gino. Not too many. But Zach coming out says a 10-team PPR, 1 quarterback. We got Josh Allen, Najee Harris, James Conner, Dobbins, Cordell Patterson, Melvin Gordon. At wide receiver, we have the Allen Diggs stack, Jalen Waddle, Godwin, Allen Robinson. And then at tight end, we have Dawson Knox. Where to improve? Okay, it's difficult, in my opinion, with this build in particular, where I would want to come out here and I would want to say, you know what? Dawson Knox not getting the job done at tight end for us. Let's go ahead. Let's try to package together one of these depth wide receivers with Dawson Knox. Let's try to get an upgrade at that position. But you have Allen. Like, you specifically have that double stack for that reason. So if we were to look to improve, I probably would look for a player like George Pickens, who in his offense probably is never really going to hit our starting lineup when we have Diggs, Waddle, and Godwin. If we could like package George Pickens and James Conner together and we could get one of those round 2 running backs that I'd be a little bit more excited about, I think that could make a lot of sense. Okay. But here, let's think this through. Let's take Tyrion Davis-Price. We take Tyrion Davis-Price as our 5th running back. We're going to be done drafting RBs. And I'm not going to lie to you, when we wait this late on our 2nd quarterback, I'm probably going to take 3 QBs. I know most people want it. I probably will. And let's take our next quarterback here, and then we're going to bounce into the next draft. The next draft we're going to do, since Pomeranian's filled up, is I'm just going to set up a private draft, and you'll see a link in the live chat to join the private draft. Okay. Let's swing this back around. Jarrett McKinnon off the board, 180. Probably good thing for us to see those tight ends and running backs go. I think we're going to take a quarterback in the 16th. Like, wide receivers, are we dying to grab any of these wide receivers here? We can't take another tight end. Like, we're done at tight end no matter what. Isaiah Likely goes 181 here. Isaiah Likely going before Noah Fant. Oh, my gosh. I can't get behind that. I cannot get behind that. We have Evan Ingram. Mac Jones does not correlate with any of our selections. I guess he does with Jacoby Myers. We have Baker Mayfield, DJ Moore. Well, we'll just take whatever quarterback falls between the two. So let's just queue these guys up, and then let's bounce into our next draft. Let me set this up. It's going to be a $3 private draft here. No, Pomeranian 4 still open. No, never mind. Never mind. It just hadn't refreshed. Okay, I thought y'all lied to me for a second. But no, yeah, we look. There's no Pomeranian 4. Okay, so let's set up this private draft. You're going to see a link in the live chat that says a $3 draft here. $3 draft here. Click that link. Should be good to go. Okay, we just sent that one out. I'm assuming that this is going to get filled almost immediately. Let me go through and check in on that other draft. Okay. Yeah, we ended up going Mac Jones 184 in that other one. Okay, so here we get the 103. Hell yes. We need the 103. We need a pick where we are going to get one of these elite level wide receivers. No problem. Perfect. Very happy to be in this spot. Very happy to be in this spot. Okay, let's queue up our other picks in that other draft. And then so I'm assuming we go Jefferson, and outside of that, maybe a standard Andrews star. Y'all know I'm a big fan of grabbing Mark Andrews in the 2nd as well. So let's swing this over. So, assuming we're queuing up Jefferson, unless someone wants to give us a gift of passing on Christian McCaffrey, which y'all know we had a high stakes draft where we ended up getting CMC at the 104, which was very exciting. That was very exciting. But let's go Jefferson here at pick 3. I think Jefferson at 3 is going to be a no-brainer. We're just going to look to hammer in some values that we can find a little later on. Just stay flexible through the first 4. I mean, stay flexible really through the first like 4 or 5 rounds. Take what the rest of the draft gives us and then build around that. Okay, so we have Austin Eckler going at 6 here. Like on Underdog, we used to say, go ahead, take Diggs at 6. Go ahead, get that elite level wide receiver, knowing you'll find running back value later on. But now that you have the Isaiah Spiller injury, I think it's enough reason to go through and to draft Austin Eckler at 6. As long as you're not drafting him over those top 3 receivers on Underdog Fantasy. Of course, in your casual, shallow redraft format, if you only start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end of flex, you can take Eckler at 3. You can go Eckler at 3 in that format in particular, but not in this one. Not in this one. Okay, and if you want to get in our next draft, make sure you go to the link in the live chat. Make sure you go to the link in the comment section, the description of the video. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football rankings. You'll get our 2022 fantasy football draft guide. And you'll be able to have some fun getting these drafts with us. We're doing these drafts nonstop. And there's an outside chance we hit 90,000 subscribers and end up doing a 24-hour live stream before the season starts. And we'll be doing these drafts on the 24-hour live stream. Okay, so now we have DeAndre Swift going off the board here at 14. A little early for DeAndre Swift. Very rarely in this format are you seeing DeAndre Swift go before CeeDee Lamb. Very, very rarely are you seeing that happen. Aim says, I just signed up and deposited. Thanks, my man. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel, my friend. And I hope you get to come out in one of these drafts with us soon. I'm trying to get as many of these drafts going for y'all as possible. Last night, we had almost a 4-hour live stream. Tonight, looks like it's probably going to be close to a 4-hour live stream yet again when we are already over 3 hours. I think this is like our 6th, 7th draft. I don't even know. They all blend together at this point. Let me see how many drafts I've had. How many drafts have I had this offseason? Oh, crap. We are on the clock in that other one. Okay, good. Yeah. Looks like we autoed our queue, but we should be good to go. We got Deshaun Watson at 1709 in that other draft, specifically for that tournament-style contest weeks 15, 16, 17. And we have him paired up with Amari as well. So I think that makes a lot of sense for us. Now we are on the clock in this draft to Big 22. And yeah, this is what we were saying. We thought we were going to get Mark Andrews. So let's go ahead. Let's take Andrews here, especially if we were less excited about taking Darren Waller with everything going on in Las Vegas right now. And regarding Darren Waller, I used to love taking him at the 4 or 5 turn. It looks like it's going to be much harder to do that now. So let's go Mark Andrews, 22. We'll set ourselves up with the ability to go Lamar Jackson at the 410. And y'all know I love Lamar Jackson in that range regardless of if we have Mark Andrews or not. But Mark Andrews just makes it 10 times better. Okay, so just trying to find our last pick in the other draft. Queued up an extra few wide receivers. Okay, so we got Michael Pittman off the board here, 25. So we have a couple of these wide receivers going. Receivers not named Tyreek Hill, though. So we're going to go ahead. We are going to get Tyreek Hill as our second wide receiver here. Very rarely are you getting Tyreek Hill go at pick 27. I mean, I've seen him go in the middle of the second round a couple drafts over the past few days. And I really do think it's just because, hell, people love what they saw in the preseason game. Obviously, had the deep connection with Tua Tagovailoa. I'm still very worried about Tyreek Hill with the downgrade of quarterback. I'm still very worried about Tyreek Hill with Jalen Waddle being there. I'm a big Jalen Waddle fanboy. But if we're going to be fair, he never falls to this ADP. And on Underdog in particular, where you have to go ahead, where you have to make sure you grab these wide receivers early so you can take advantage of the running back value later on. I think Tyreek Hill, pick 27, is going to be a no-brainer. We have Josh Allen, 32 here. So interesting to get Leonard Fournette falling in a couple of these drafts over and over and over again. I mean, I saw Leonard Fournette in 2 drafts ago almost fall to us at pick 33. I think he went right before us at 32. Leonard Fournette here falls to 31. I mean, you have to be so excited about that team. That's why you start with Stephon Diggs over Derrick Henry. That way you can get Leonard Fournette on the way back around to pick 31. That's why you go wide receiver early on Underdog, so you can take advantage of the running back value that you have in the middle rounds. We have DJ Moore, pick 34. We just ended up going DJ Moore in a similar type build. I think we went Derrick Henry at 10 and then Travis Kelce at 15 in that last draft. And then we took DJ Moore in this range. Jalen Waddle goes 35. Y'all know I'm a Jalen Waddle fan. But we got Kingview Meade out in this draft with us here. He starts Travis Kelce, Joe Mixon. Let's see what he decides to do after this. Gabriel Davis, 36. I think we've seen him take Gabe Davis in this range before. 642 says Leonard Fournette, top 5 running back potential. Definitely Leonard Fournette could be a top 5 running back. I don't want to act like it's a guarantee. I think that there are some serious red flags with Leonard Fournette, if we're going to be completely honest. But at the same time, he was the running back 6 on a points per game basis last year. And it's not like he got very lucky with touchdowns by any means. No, he was the running back 6 based off just the overall usage in the receiving game primarily. So, like, it's not like we can just go, oh, yeah, the touchdowns are going to come down to earth for Leonard Fournette this upcoming year. I do think that you have concerns with his age. I think you have concerns with the offensive line turnover. I think you have concerns with the addition of Rachaad White. But no, I pick 31. You're taking Leonard Fournette. You're not thinking twice about it. Pick 31. You're taking Leonard Fournette, and you're not thinking twice. Okay. Now we have Hollywood Brown off the board here. Let me know what y'all think we should do at pick 46. I have a sneaky suspicion that we are going to get Breece Hall making it to us. Like, we have seen Breece Hall falling more and more and more as of late. And I don't know. Jack says, why is David Montgomery ranked so low for people? It's going to be a nasty offense. You have the coaching change, so people are concerned that you aren't going to have the same type of volume for David Montgomery this upcoming season. David Montgomery was someone that I did not really draft much a couple months ago, but I will admit, I've been drafting David Montgomery a crap ton over the past few weeks, given the fact that you're looking at high-stakes drafts, David Montgomery falling to the beginning of the 7th round. And yeah, I've been drafting David Montgomery at the beginning of the 7th round in some high stakes drafts. So I'm now, last time I checked on the live stream, we were 11% David Montgomery. Let me go through, let me check what my ownership's up with Montgomery. We were very low at the beginning portion of the offseason, but now we have gone up given the fact, yeah, we're 11% Montgomery, just given the fact he's been falling so much. Let's take Ezekiel Elliott here. We're taking Ezekiel Elliott primarily because this is a private draft. I think, Zeke, you do have a severely capped ceiling this upcoming season. So if you're playing in like a tournament style draft on Underdog Fantasy, you probably still decide to avoid Ezekiel Elliott here at pick 46. To be completely honest, you probably decide to instead go ahead and take someone like Lamar Jackson, which we're really hoping that we get Lamar Jackson on the way back around at pick 51. I think there's a decent shot that ends up happening. But in this type of context in particular, when this is a private draft and it's just cumulative scoring weeks 1 through 17, there is no fantasy football playoff stretch. I think just the raw number of touches Ezekiel Elliott will have makes him more exciting in these private drafts than he would be in those tournament drafts. In those tournament drafts, I'm probably even passing on Ezekiel Elliott at pick 46. Like, let me see what my ownership is on Elliott. We have Ezekiel in 8%. Okay, I thought we had Zeke in less than that. We have Zeke in 8%, so I guess we were average, but I thought we had him in less. Let's move this around. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes 49, so obviously we're really hoping that we get Lamar. Please give us Lamar. It's hard for us to take Kittle. It's hard for us to take Waller, given the fact that we took Andrews. Like, maybe in a tournament-style context, if you're trying to create a unique build, you go ahead, you grab like a Kittle here. But Lamar Jackson goes, F me. God dang it. Let's go ahead. Let's take Cam Akers as our second running back. I think with Akers, there's inherently a crap ton of risk if we were going to be looking at the overall recovery process from that torn Achilles. And on top of that, if we're going to be looking at the drop-off in efficiency that we had over the final 6-week stretch this past season, including the playoffs. But if we do take a step back, I mean, he is 12 months removed from the torn Achilles. Not only is he 12 months removed, but at the same time, this is a running back that before the torn Achilles was going in round 1 of drafts a year ago. Round 1 of drafts a year ago. So I think it makes sense when he falls to the 5th for us. Obviously, there's a wide range of outcomes. There's a very low floor on Akers, but I think it is fine to go ahead and take him here. Okay. So far, at tight end, we have the elite level option in Andrews. At wide receiver, we have Jefferson and Tyreek. And at running back, we have Ezekiel Elliott and Cam Akers. It would have been so much better if we had Lamar Jackson making it back to us. Maybe we should have still just gone ahead and taken Lamar Jackson in the 4th round, not roll the dice that he made it back. The reason we were somewhat confident in thinking we could pass on Lamar Jackson at 46 is given the fact that we were looking at Patrick Mahomes also being available. That team only had one receiver, but it is. I'm not going to ever sit here and cry about someone taking Lamar Jackson at pick 50. Hell, even if I don't have Mark Andrews, I'm going ahead. I'm taking Lamar Jackson with that same range. Brad says, Dak Street Boys just giving money away. Yeah, Dak Street Boys has Allen and Herbert on the same build. Personally, I'm not a fan. I mean, in a private draft, I think it makes no sense. In a tournament-style draft, maybe make the argument that nobody else is going to do it. But I will say, at least Dak Street Boys is still out here with the best name in this draft. The best name in this draft. Okay, so we have Dameon Pierce off the board. 61. Oh my gosh. Dameon Pierce going early here. Dameon Pierce going before Rashad Bateman, Michael Thomas, Jalen Hurts, David Montgomery. Let me know what y'all are thinking of that. Let me know what y'all are thinking of going Dameon Pierce there at 61. King View Mean, my man. I can't get behind it. I can't get behind it. I feel like Dameon Pierce, I feel like his ceiling is relatively close to David Montgomery's median projection. King View Mean says mixing things up out here. Oh, okay. All right, my man. Maybe I'm just salty because I haven't drafted Dameon Pierce in like a month. We do have a decent amount of Best Ball Mania teams from a few months back where we have Pierce, but so we have Jalen Hurts off the board, 66. Hurts would have been a player we would have been very excited about making him back to us. In reality, it's highly unlikely that Jalen Hurts ever does make it back to pick 70. So let's see what these teams right before us decide to do. We got Elijah Mitchell off the board, 68. Peking Pineapple on the clock. 5 wide receivers so far. They go Josh Jacobs, 69. We're going to go ahead. We're going to get our third wide receiver here. We are going to take Brandon Ayuk. I think you can make the argument for Trey Lance, but a big reason we're taking Ayuk here is because if we look at the teams between us, this team, Falcoholics, only has one wide receiver with A.J. Brown. So I'd imagine that they have to hammer in some of these wide receivers here at the 6-7 turn. And both these teams already have elite-level quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Given the fact that it's a best ball format, they still can take Trey Lance if they want. But I think they're much more likely to take Brandon Ayuk than Trey Lance between the two players. So if we were wanting both guys, I think our best shot is going Ayuk 70 and getting Lance 75. But Christian coming out says closing in on 90,000. Had the first pick in a 12-team PPR, double running back, double receiver, double flex league, where we got Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, A.J. Dillon, T. Higgins, Mike Thomas, Elijah Moore, Burks, Pitts. Okay, love having Pitts. Okay, this team looks very good with Pitts here because we have that elite level quarterback. We have the running back one overall potentially with Christian McCaffrey if he stays healthy. We have the upside play with Dillon, a couple high upside wide receivers. I like the team. It would be so interesting. I really like the team, my friend. And there's not much I can say. Like, regarding the bench, you are going through and rostering those high upside guys. That's 100% what we're looking for. One thing that I would possibly try to do is go through and just put out a feeler. See what the price point would be if we traded Kyle Pitts in a small piece. And in return, we got Travis Kelce. We ended up getting that stack between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I think that would be beautiful. I think if you're playing in a casual redraft format, someone's not going to be willing to pay the price that probably takes to move Kyle Pitts, though. I like the team. I think that would be really the only move I think we can make at this point in particular. Okay. Louis coming out says, Devontae Adams for Dalvin Cook sounds good. Best running back is Dillon. Yes, shallow redraft format, you go Dalvin Cook. Shallow redraft format, you just go ahead and take Dalvin Cook. And real quick, we are about to pass 1,300 likes on the live stream. Thank y'all so much. I think we are actually closing in on where we were a night ago. Thank y'all. Y'all are absolutely ridiculous. Thank you so much for everybody dropping down. I mean, going down there and dropping that like. Carlos says, hey, Mason, is your birthday April 15th? Because mine is. Sadly, no, but happy early birthday, my friend. Happy early birthday. Okay, now we have Russell Wilson off the board, 81. And to be honest, we played that perfectly there at pick 70, pick 75. We did end up coming away with a combination of Brandon Ayuk and Trey Lance. So far, this team at receiver has Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and Brandon Ayuk. At tight end, we have Mark Andrews. And at quarterback, we have the elite level guy in Trey Lance. So I really like this build in particular. I really like this team. I don't necessarily think there are too many things we'd go back and change with it. Possibly make the argument that we should have gone ahead and we should have taken, instead of Ezekiel Elliott where we did, we should have taken Lamar Jackson just to get that guaranteed stack up with Mark Andrews. But based on where we get Lance later on, I think we're fine with what happened. Now we have Tony Pollard going off the board to 84, significantly behind ADP here to Kingview Mead. Or maybe this is just where Pollard goes now. Maybe Pollard has been falling in these drafts. Okay. NFL Blitz says, hey, Mason, are you still powerlifting? Benching 225 like a monster. So if y'all don't know, I was on the powerlifting team back when I was at the University of Texas. I used to be very strong. Like, if y'all go and look at like one of the oldest videos on this channel, it's our NFL Combine, and you can see me bench 225 for 12. I still lift every day, but I am not like that anymore. I could not, if I tried to do 225 for 12, I would literally die. I think I could probably bench like 225 for 6 now. But, and my squat and deadlift are way down as well. So like, I still obviously go to the gym every single day, but I don't just power lift, where when you're on the powerlifting team, the only thing you do is bench, squat, and deadlift. Carly says, Flock, I'm friends with Tammy. Carly, you are just confusing the hell out of me. I have no idea who Tammy is. Okay, so Kadarius Toney goes 92. Let's go ahead. Let's go Robert Woods here. Yeah, I think it does make sense to go Robert Woods in a private draft like this in particular. So if we were playing in a tournament style contest, I'm a lot more willing to just go ahead and get Treylon Burks in the next round. Treylon Burks at the beginning of the 9th. But the reason I'm going with Robert Woods is because this is cumulative scoring weeks 1 through 17, and we don't have to optimize for weeks 15, 16, 17 in the fantasy football playoffs. I think that we just kind of want the guy that can have the role, that can be productive right away starting week 1. I think we are going to be easily able to get another running back on the way back around to pick 99. We don't necessarily have to worry about that. I was expecting these teams to go wide receiver. That's exactly what happens. Antonio Gibson goes 97. Okay. Let's move this over. Okay, so do we just go ahead and take Miles Sanders? No practice again. Are you kidding me? Isn't practicing Monday, blah, blah, blah. Are you kidding me right now? I'm going to take Kareem Hunt here. I mean, with Kareem Hunt, I think you get touches on a week-to-week basis behind an elite-level offensive line. I think that at the same time, this can be a running back that has the contingency value if something were to occur to Nick Chubb, where he could go out there, he could have an elite-level ceiling. So let's take Kareem Hunt, 99. I don't necessarily think that we can sit here and go, oh my gosh, Hunt, the best value in the world, easiest pick to ever make over Miles Sanders. Maybe I'm just the fish getting scared of Miles Sanders because he's missing practices when in reality it doesn't matter. But I don't know. Reading Miles Sanders misses practice. Miles Sanders misses practice. Miles Sanders misses practice. For a month straight, reading that same report, it gets to your head. Okay. So now Miles Sanders does go off the board 103. I think at this price point, Miles Sanders is a completely fine pick. If someone were to take Miles Sanders over Kareem Hunt, I'm not going to have any arguments with him. If you wanted to go Miles Sanders over Hunt, I'm not going to have an argument with you. But I wonder, maybe should we? No, we're not going Rashad Penny here. We're not going Penny. Penny is better in this format, though, because you don't have the fantasy football playoffs. And I do think that Penny front loads the majority of that production. So Tyler Boyd off the board at 104. Cordell Patterson off 105. I really like the Cordell Patterson value, and you're usually getting him at the beginning of the 10th round. We're just looking at how many touches are going to be available in that Atlanta Falcons offense. Going to be a very bad offense overall. Like, we can't come out here and go, oh, Atlanta's going to be great, yada, yada, yada. But still, I think that it is a strong spot to be taking Cordell Patterson. Paul says, Mason, have you ever been in a 2-quarterback league with a friend and 3 RBs? Yes. So I have played in legitimately, and this is not a flex. This is just to tell you that my entire life I've been obsessed with fantasy football since I started playing in 2014 Dynasty Fantasy Football. I played fantasy football way before that, but Dynasty Fantasy Football, I started playing in 2014. And if you know anything about Dynasty, every league you join, there are going to be completely different league settings. And I've probably played in 100 Dynasty leagues throughout the years. So yes, I played in almost every format you could imagine. I would pride myself on that in particular. I would say I am probably an idiot with 99.9999% of things. But the one thing that I'm good at, the one thing that I think I have a strong edge with is understanding how to adjust for your league format regarding roster size, regarding starting lineup requirements, etc. Okay, so now we have Zach Ertz off the board, 114. So maybe we finally end up having to take Dawson Knox in a draft if Dawson Knox falls 15 picks past his ADP for us here. I'm not a massive Dawson Knox fan. I think the majority of y'all know that at this point. But yeah, I mean, with Dawson Knox, I'm never really taking him at 103. Like, how many drafts do I have Knox in? Let me look at my exposures with Dawson Knox. I have Dawson Knox in 6% of drafts. I thought I had Dawson Knox in way fewer. I thought I had him in way fewer leagues. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Rondale Moore here. Now, regarding the wide receivers that we would be looking at in this range, if we were playing in that tournament-style contest where we needed to be optimizing for weeks 15, 16, 17, I easily go Garrett Wilson. Easily go Wilson. I think that he should have the elite level ceiling during that stretch. But in this cumulative scoring format where, hell, points of weeks 1, 2, and 3 matter just as much as points of weeks 15, 16, 17, let's go Rondale Moore because he should have the expanded role at least for the first 6 weeks of the season with no DeAndre Hopkins here. Okay, so let's swing this back around. And also, maybe we get Garrett Wilson on the way back around. Maybe we get our guy Garrett Wilson on the way back around. Carly out here just friends with everyone. Friends with everyone. Garrett Wilson goes, crap. Usually we like to go ahead and take Michael Gallup in this range. Just reach on over. At this point, we're going to go Gage. Let's go ahead. Let's take Russell Gage here, wide receiver 6. I think that if you're looking at Jalen Tolbert's just massively overvalued. I think that Gallup does indeed have the role there in Dallas. I mean, with Jalen Tolbert, I'm not really drafting at least, I guess he's fallen a little bit compared to where he was going. But I'm not really wanting to draft a wide receiver, rookie receiver that stayed all 4 years at South Alabama. Not dying to draft him in this range. And the other players that we'd be looking at as well. I mean, Joshua Palmer, I feel like the only reason Joshua Palmer has an ADP over here is because usually this is where the Justin Herbert team is. So let's go ahead. Let's take Gage. NFL Blitz says, how do you view player draft percentages? Obviously, this is only something you can do on Underdog because Underdog is the freaking best. But so on Underdog, since it's best ball, I mean, hell, I'm going to get in like 700 drafts this year because there's no time commitment at all during the season. Y'all should know this by now. We've already said it a million times. So when you're in that many drafts, if you want to check your exposures, what you do is you go to just the general little thing. You hit completed at the top, and then you go to the 2022 season. You click exposure, and then you have the list of your most drafted players. You can sort it by the percentage of leagues you've drafted them in, and also the entry fees you have into that individual player as well. And Traylon Burks is officially my third most invested into player on Underdog. I'm happy to say that. We got Christian Watson at 2. We got a couple Kansas City Chiefs at the top of that list as well. We have Michael Gallup as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The seventh guy invested into. I like seeing Gallup with that investment as well. I mean, at his ADP, I think Michael Gallup's just a smash. Okay, so we have Isaiah McKenzie off the board here, 130. I mean, we have a lot of wide receiver value as is. Like, if we go through and look at our board right now, currently at receiver, we have the combination of Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Brandon Ayuk, stacked up with Trey Lance, of course, Robert Woods, Rondale Moore, and Russell Gage. The running back, we have Ezekiel Elliott, Cam Akers, and Kareem Hunt. At tight end, we have the elite level option in Mark Andrews. So we only have to draft 2 tight ends total in this league. We only have to draft 2 quarterbacks as well. So I do like this draft so far. I don't even know what do we want falling to us. I feel like we're so balanced. Tolbert's falling. And Tolbert has been falling for a while now. I think people realized that the hype had gotten out of control with Jalen Tolbert. I think he didn't really flash anything in the preseason either. So you are seeing Tolbert fall a considerable amount. Okay, Michael Carter goes off the board 135 here. I guess we could go with the Tua Tagovailoa as well if we're going to look at Tua getting stacked up with Tyreek Hill. We still need a second quarterback. Our only other quarterback at this point is Trey Lance. Jack says, what are your thoughts on Rondale Moore? With Rondale Moore, I really liked him as a prospect coming out of Purdue. I mean, he broke out at 18 years old, and he was dominant. He was dominant at 18. Like, literally, one of the best wide receivers in the country. He declared early for the NFL draft. He got drafted in round 2. Obviously, undersized, and that was a massive red flag that a lot of people had with him, elite-level athlete. He's very bad his rookie year. His average at the target was like Debo Samuel low, which it's hard to bet on those outliers. I think he's a fine pick at this range. I mean, he's a fine guy to pick up off the waiver wire because we can say that he has upside for the beginning portion of the season where you could potentially flip him for more if he flashes, given the fact that you are looking at it being an elite level offense and no DeAndre Hopkins there. Okay, but we're going to get a running back here as our fourth guy, whether it's Kenneth Gainwell, Alexander Madison. We'll just see what Peking Pineapple leaves us. They go KJ Osborne. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get Kenneth Gainwell here. Kenneth Gainwell, 142. I think we have to be slightly more concerned now that we're looking at this Philadelphia Eagles situation as one that does have a Boston Scott involved. And I wanted to pretend like Boston Scott wasn't going to be playing this up. I don't know why I was being so stupid. I don't know why I wanted to pretend that Boston Scott wasn't a thing. I do think that he severely eats into the overall upside and the floor that you're going to have with these running backs in Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell in particular. But Irv Smith Jr. off the board here, 144. I think at this point, DJ Chark's a lot more appealing in a format like this where we don't have the fantasy football playoffs. So even if Jamison Williams comes in the final 3-week stretch and eats into the overall upside we could have with DJ Chark, it may not matter in these private cumulative scoring drafts. Isaiah Pacheco goes off the board 145. Winston's not appealing. We don't have a single New Orleans Saint at this point. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks we're going to be looking at later on are about the same. So let's go ahead. Let's take DJ Chark. If this was a tournament-style draft on Underdog Fantasy, to be honest with you, I'm taking KJ Hamler over DJ Chark. I'm taking a couple other wide receivers. I'd probably even take like a Christian Watson over DJ Chark. But because you won't have Jamison Williams at the beginning portion of the year, you should see DJ Chark front-load his production, which I do think makes sense in these private cumulative scoring drafts. Ty Zombie coming out says, where can you play Dynasty with random people for money? I would be careful about that, my friend. I would be very picky on leagues that you choose. It's hard for me to go, oh, just go join Reddit. Go join Twitter. Go join our Discord chat. You can find one in our Discord chat. I will tell you that right now. But if I'm not hosting it, I don't want, just be careful. Make sure the commissioner is doing the right things. Make sure he's collecting all the dues up front. Make sure that when other teams trade their future picks, they have to pay for that year immediately. Because the worst thing is joining a Dynasty League and then having it fold 2 years later. Like, I've hosted a couple Dynasty Leagues. I've hosted too many leagues that have folded 2 years later. But whenever I host those leagues, we're able to go through and collect deposits. And we're able to get everybody their money back, get them into new leagues. But if it's just someone random, that's the commish, you never know what's going to happen. Okay. So we have Robbie Anderson off the board here, 155. Interesting to see Robbie Anderson 155 with the Laviska Shenault trade, of course. As I've said so many times in this live stream, I don't necessarily think that they eat too much into each other, if we're going to be honest. Okay, we have Isaiah Likely off the board here, 157. Cameron says, drafting out of the 1 slot. What do you think? Thank you, Cameron, for coming out, drafting with us in this private draft. Let's go through. Let's check this out. So going with going with the hero running back build with Jonathan Taylor here at the 1 spot, and then slamming in Higgins, Michael Pittman. Personally, I'm not a massive Pittman guy. I think that I go through and I easily take Tyreek Hill. I think I easily take Kyle Pitts over Pittman, even Keenan Allen over Pittman, Nick Chubb over Pittman. I'm not taking Pittman, but people that are a lot smarter than me are. So, I mean, hell, don't listen to the idiot. You should probably listen to the very smart people telling you that it's fine to draft Michael Pittman as the top 12 option. Then Mahomes, they're at pick 49. Personally, I'm always trying to come away with an elite level quarterback at the 4-5 turn. I would say now that it's a lot harder to get Sky Moore and Marquez Valdez-Scantling to fall to at a value later on, I'm probably a little more likely to just take Lamar Jackson there at the 4-5 turn, knowing that I feel like with Mahomes, you're betting on the passing volume, where with Lamar, you're betting on the rushing upside. So I'm fine having Lamar Jackson not stacked, where we probably want that with Mahomes. Devonta Smith, 73. We get MVS actually making it back to us in 96, so it does work out. Antonio Gibson, 97. Antonio Gibson, extremely wide range of outcomes. I really can't even speak on the matter. I think he has a very high ceiling if he were to get the starting running back role, but in reality, we don't even know if that's going to happen. Daryl Henderson, 120, great value. Hines, I mean, obviously we need to kind of hammer in some running backs at this point. Love the Irv Smith Jr. pick. Isaiah Pacheco. As I've said so many times on these live streams, I've been an idiot. I've been very hypocritical with Isaiah Pacheco because I was fine drafting Ronald Jones in the same range. And what I said when we would draft Ronald Jones is a bad running back, but it does not matter when he's playing in the Kansas City Chiefs offense and there are going to be 1 million points scored in that offense and there's no clear number one on the depth chart. I think Isaiah Pacheco is probably a pretty bad running back, but he falls in that same exact situation. So if I was fine drafting Rojo there, I probably should be fine drafting Isaiah Pacheco, even though I'll admit it to you, I probably have only taken him in one draft ever. So I like the team overall. Really, the only thing that I wouldn't have done is Michael Pittman, but like I said, people that are significantly smarter than me are telling you to take Michael Pittman in that range. So let's swing this over. We got Alec Pierce off the board, 167 here. We go Mike Gesicki at 166. We're just getting our second tight end. Somewhat correlate with Tyreek. In reality, it doesn't really matter. I think that we just need a second tight end, and we don't necessarily know what else to do in this range. I mean, I'm not that excited about drafting Alec Pierce. I guess maybe now that Sonny Michel's cut, you're more excited to draft Raheem. But also at the same time, considering the fact that this is not a tournament draft and it is just cumulative scoring, I don't know how excited we would be to draft Isaiah Spiller if he's going to miss the beginning portion of the year. Zay Jones off the board, probably a pretty strong Zay Jones pick. We can't go with another tight end now that we decided to go ahead and we decided to draft Gesicki and Andrews on this roster. So let's go ahead. Let's take Marvin Jones if we think that this Jacksonville Jaguars depth chart has been thinned out a bit. I guess we go Marvin. We get our 8th wide receiver here. We only have to draft one more quarterback when we have Lance. So how many more rounds do we have? We have 3 more rounds. We need minimum 1 more QB. 1 more QB. And our 4 running backs right now are Ezekiel Elliott, Cam Akers, Kareem Hunt, and Kenneth Gainwell. So 1 more QB, 2 more running backs, or 1 more running back, 2 more QBs. It's just obviously a little bit different here when you're not drafting in the tournament lobby on Underdog and it's a private cumulative scoring draft, where I think it is more viable to go through and draft 3 quarterbacks. Bryce says, are you not worried about the reports with Gesicki? Yeah, I think everybody's worried about the reports with Mike Gesicki, which is why Mike Gesicki, let me pull up his ADP when these contests first opened. Like, I hate to say this. I know we say this a lot, but everybody knows about the reports with Mike Gesicki, so it's baked into his price. It's not like we're the only person on the planet that have been able to see the usage of Mike Gesicki in Miami and how this is trending. Everybody kind of realizes it. So if we look at Gesicki right now, Mike Gesicki has fallen 36 picks since May 11th. May 11th, Mike Gesicki was going at pick 124. So he's going in like the beginning of the 11th round. And now we're getting him at the 14-15 turn. So yes, I think you have to be concerned, but it's baked into his price. Now we have a couple tight ends going off the board right after this. Good for us with our build in particular. We need quarterbacks. We need running backs making it back around. We're done at wide receiver as well. Matt says, hey Mason, it's Falcoholics here. Been fun drafting with you. Thanks for hosting us. No, thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us in the live stream tonight, my man. I'm excited you got in a draft with us. Hopefully you get in a draft with us another time soon. That way you can come out here and you can continue to take our money. Daniel Jones off the board, 179. We're looking at quarterbacks that would correlate with a piece of this build. Tannehill with Ronald Jones. Goff with Chark. That's about it. I mean, with Deshaun Watson, trust me, I'll take Deshaun Watson if it was a tournament-style contest, weeks 15, 16, 17. as a priority. But here in these private drafts where there is no fantasy football playoffs, there's absolutely no reason to take Deshaun Watson. You're not going to be able to overcome the lack of scoring for the first 11 weeks. Of course, as I say with everything, it is format dependent. If you're in that tournament draft on underdog, I'm firing up some Deshaun Watson here. Okay. Baker Mayfield off the board at 183. Let's sit here and think about this. What running backs? There are a couple of running backs that I'm fine taking. Paris Campbell off the board, 185. Joe says, can you show us your highest projected team on underdog? My friend, I would have no idea how to find that. And at the same time, while I genuinely believe that underdog has the best ADP that you are going to find, and I would put that up against anything, because there's the most money drafted on underdog fantasy. Inherently, that's where the best ADP is going to be. And they also update it as often as possible where other sites have a little bit of a lag. The ADP on underdog is an incredibly important tool. However, the projection, not so much. Like, I guarantee you my highest projected team on underdog fantasy is not my favorite team on underdog. Okay. So, Benjamin, Jarrett McKinnon off the board. Brevin Jordan goes 188. So, obviously, Tyrion Davis-Price has been falling a crap ton, but I understand why Tyrion Davis-Price is falling. It looks like he's not just guaranteed the second running back role in San Francisco as we initially thought. But at the same time, hell, at this price point, I'm going to be fine going through. I'm going to be fine making the bet on Tyrion Davis-Price. We have Mac Jones, 191 here. So this team on the clock as well only has Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. So they go ahead and they take Davis Mills. Personally, I don't know why, but deep down, I'm a Davis Mills hater. I don't know why. I just don't understand why everybody wants to come out here and talk about how underrated Davis Mills is. Yata. Literally, Vegas has this as the worst team in the NFL. I think Carson Wentz is a better quarterback. He's in a better situation with better weapons. Tannehill's in a better quarterback. He's in a better situation with better weapons. Let me look up how many drafts I've taken Davis Mills in. I've drafted him in a few spots. Like if we come away with Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins on the same roster, sure, we'll take Davis Mills. I have Davis Mills in 2% of drafts. Yeah, I have Davis Mills absolutely nowhere. Compared to some other quarterbacks in this range, Tannehill I have in 8%, which we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Tannehill here. I mean, we need another quarterback. We have Robert Woods at wide receiver. I think that does correlate. And I think we probably in the live stream here, which of course I am sorry about having to end the stream, but at some point I have to preserve my voice. We've back-to-back live streams of almost 4 hours. Dear God, all I got to say is thank you so much. I truly appreciate every single person out here. I have no idea why y'all are such sickos that are willing to just watch me live stream, watch me ruin some fantasy football drafts for this long, but I promise you, I appreciate it more than anything else in the world. If you want to join our next draft, trust me, we're drafting tomorrow night on Underdog. We're drafting the night after that on Underdog, the night after that. And of course, if we hit 90,000 subscribers, we are going to get a 24-hour live stream going. And based on how my voice feels right now, dear God, I have no idea how it's going to feel in that 24-hour stream. But thank you again. I'll send out a free link to a free fantasy football group chat if you want to join. You don't need a credit card. You don't need an email. You don't need anything. Just click the link. Type out whatever your nickname you want it to be. It could be your real name. Could be anything. You don't need a credit card. Don't need an email. Just free fantasy football group chat where we're hanging out all day. That's in the live chat. It's also in the description. But I appreciate you all. I hope you have a great night. And I hope I get to see you out tomorrow.